All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Worcester Council Theater 3000. Another week in which we ask the question, will anything good ever happen again? Doubtful, folks. It's doubtful, but
So far
here
off
we
to a
are.
terrible start today.
Yeah, here we are. We are freshly off of our weekly mass shooting. We're just seeing the news of that from Texas roll in at an elementary school this time. Haven't had one of those in a while. So that's great. And on the world bends on an arc towards an irascible evil and the coming apocalypse.
Really
I get
the sense it's more. Is it really bending though? I get the sense it's just getting ready to crack in half. I don't know if.
Yeah, I think we might be reaching a sort of more of a snapping would be like a more appropriate, an appropriate way to talk about that. But we're without Bryan today. I believe he's hosting a comedy event over at Redemption Rock Brewing. So if you came here for Bryan, log off and go over to Redemption Rock. We
can't help you.
Surely more fun than this. Surely, but we have to do the work here. And this council meeting is honestly quite interesting. But before I get to that, just say, as always, thank you to Crafty Kombucha for sponsoring this program. It is the only ethical consumption under capitalism. So go and get yourself some fermented beverages to ethically consume. But yeah, let's take a look. I mean, the big thing here, just looking at my notes, is Eric Batista seems we have a contract.
Expand the contract.
We have a contract that they will be going into executive session, I believe, to vote on. The contract is cushy. Oh my God, is it cushy? I mean, just off the dome here. Yeah, we're doing inclusionary zoning too. That's actually one of the few good things on this agenda, and I'm excited about that. But the contract is, I believe, at the top of the head, $225,000 a year, plus all the vehicle perks and everything that Augustus was getting. They have this weird language where it's like, in the event that there is a new city manager hired and that it's not Batista, then he will get a 5-month severance package.
Right.
So I guess that's. I mean, does he get the severance package if he just goes back to the job he had before he was named?
Maybe it's a 4-month vacation, then he just goes back to being the assistant to whoever.
He just goes back to being general city hall guy and the forever acting chief diversity officer and all of that fun stuff.
Bill, help me out with something though. So I thought those of us who are clearly not lawyers, but also have not lost as many lawsuits as the city of Worcester, came to the conclusion that the charter reads that he can't have the job permanently. I thought the language was pretty clear that acting city manager has to come from City Hall, but then that person can't be considered for the job permanently.
That is the way that I also read that.
Okay. You and I should have gone to law school. We would have had a completely different take on things.
That is exactly the way that I read that. And this really doesn't, the contract being offered really doesn't seem like it's in the spirit of a temporary holdover while we search for somebody, do a real national search for somebody who's a competent executive, who understands how to manage a city government infrastructure, and is not just like somebody that has only worked at Worcester City Hall and has spent his entire career just playing the political game of getting closer and closer to the seat of power. I mean, it'd be really nice. I mean, the school committee already just showed us that there are talented people out there that want to, make a stake in their career in Worcester, that we can recruit. We do not have to operate within the political cesspool of central Massachusetts, but it seems like we are bent on doing that.
But those other people aren't going to come from the 69th best city in America.
Yeah, no, they won't be as nice. No, they won't be as nice. I mean, that was such a treat. 69th, we're 69,
Beautiful.
baby. And I mean, we did a lot of work to get to that moment. I think that I don't want to take credit myself personally, but I think that I did a lot of 69ing
Yeah.
to try to get us there, and I left it all on the court, and I'm just happy that we're finally in this position where we can celebrate our true spirit of being a little bit gross, but still pretty cool overall.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got high for 6 weeks straight just to go to Five Guys in the hopes that I could get number 69 when I ordered. And yeah, I think that it took 6 weeks, but I think that played a big part in us achieving this greatness.
Yeah. All you had to do was just have a blood that's of a syrup consistency, out of breath when you're walking upstairs, but you got to eat that Five Guys, dude. You just gotta. Yeah. What else? We have a report from the police on ShotSpotter, which is a big fuck you. They did not take the assignment seriously. It very much reads like somebody who forgot about it and then filed the high school essay at midnight.
Did you read the patch story about ShotSpotter and their data collection in Worcester?
No, I didn't. Is it a Neil McNamara story?
I think it was. It's fascinating because someone put in a records request to get a hold of the data for how the ShotSpotter Connect is actually dispatching and directing where officers should be.
Yeah.
It turns out that they don't have access to that.
The police don't.
The police don't have access to it.
That's great. That's really great.
So we have this artificial intelligence system, call it Skynet, if you will,
that
is telling us exactly where all our police officers need to be, but nobody has any idea how it works.
Yeah.
And nobody can see any look back on where they were sent and why. Yeah.
No, that's proprietary info, baby.
Yeah.
And we call that? We call it a private-public partnership. We just you love to see it. The city's built on them. I want to pull it up because I was reading through the report earlier and I took a screen grab on Twitter. Let me just get there. Part of the report is a review of ShotSpotter by scholars of law enforcement at New York University. And the report has 4 recommendations. This is in keeping with what the patch just dug up. Recommendation number 1 is that ShotSpotter should substantially reduce the duration of audio stored on ShotSpotter sensors. Number 2, commit to denying requests and challenging subpoenas for sensor audio. 3, commit to not sharing specific sensor location. And 4, improve internal control and supervisions regarding audio access. That's just they want to make it as opaque and as less transparent as possible. I don't see anything wrong with that myself. I mean,
I just can't wait to Worcester and the rest of the world comes to the same conclusion that the folks in Fall River did like 5 years ago, that it's a nonsense system that does absolutely nothing. You're paying a fortune for a nonsense system that probably really doesn't even work. Like doesn't have like functioning software. It's but people love it because I don't know.
Because the cops say they like it and they like the cops, so it's all gravy, baby. And if you say anything bad about it, you're just a fucking Antifa thug, and you're gonna steal everyone in Holden's pictures on their mantle and replace them with pictures of Peppa Pig. And then Turtle Boy is going to take that seriously and try to destroy my career for the 20th time. It's not working. It's not working, bud. It's just not working. But keep trying.
That career on your own. You don't need any of his.
Yeah. Just keep trying. Yeah. I can destroy my own career just fine. What career? Also, by the way, what are you talking about? There's no careers anymore. It's not a thing that people have.
Silly duck.
Yeah. What else do we have? Oh yeah, we're gonna see how the Bryan, you're fucking supposed to be doing the thing. Oh, go to Redemption Rock. Get out of here. Unless somebody else named themselves Bryan O'Donnell and we have another Mo Bergman situation, but on a meta level. Oh yeah, I think that just expect the same lines of argument on the cop stuff that we always see. People raising completely legitimate concerns, and everyone else treating them like they are fucking batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way that we do things around here. The parallel districts for school committee and city council, there is an order on to make that happen, but will the council make it happen? Doubtful, very doubtful. Yeah, it's gonna leaving like a really, really confusing situation for Worcester voters.
Wait till you get sued. That's what I always say. Just wait till you get sued. It makes things easier for you. It keeps the law department employed.
Right.
Yeah.
As we watched last week, I mean, and I pulled a clip of it out on Twitter, but just watching Donna Calorio try to make that argument, like, oh, I mean, we did a really good job not taking the lawsuit to trial, and
the city council didn't get sued. Why do we need to do anything?
Why do we need to freaking change what we're doing? And then Tracy just like eviscerated her. Like, oh yeah, no, we should really be patting ourselves on the back for being chill about getting sued, you know? Oh yeah, you can sue us. It's chill. Yeah.
She said something during that little speech too that kind of I've been thinking about a lot. She referred to her constituents, and she was clearly referring to the folks that like her, which I thought was interesting because, like, I don't like her, but I'm still her constituent. And I feel like someone's going to actually give her an update as to how this works. That, like, you don't actually get to pick and choose once you're elected. Yeah, like, you don't get to pick and choose who you're representing anymore.
She thought she just came up with like the absolute most clever way to say Jim Polito. like just playing 3D chess to just like threaten them that Jim Polito is going to say something mean on the radio. Is Jim Polito even still doing his thing or what?
Nobody knows.
I don't know. I don't know or care.
That AM signal doesn't make its way down the hill anymore. You actually have to go in the studio to watch.
Yeah, right. And what else we got? Oh, the rental registry. That'll be an interesting follow-up on the fatal fire last weekend to see if I mean, I don't imagine there being much pushback to this idea, and I think it's a lot better of an idea to database these things and create a system of routine inspections as opposed to just waiting for, complaints to come in, right, and then clearing the complaints out. I think that's a good idea. I think that it'd be nice to make sure that we have enough funding and enough staffing that this is useful,
right? That's I think the big challenge. It's
right, and
I don't think any of our inspectional services are fully staffed to be handling more work.
Yeah, I mean, like, that is way more important, and like just in terms of preventing these fatal fires from happening than like any investment you could make in fire. The fire department's equipment or buying the police a drone, as Steve Sargent very coyly suggested in that initial press release about the fire. Right. He's like, I'd like to especially thank Auburn Police for bringing this drone in so we can watch the building burn down in a cool new way. That
was gross. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. It's just silly.
That was really fucking disgusting. Like above the fact that it was tacky and like transparently like just political and shilling. It's like, dude, like 4 people died.
Yeah.
Can you not? Can you not do that?
And the answer is no. They can not do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
They can't freaking help themselves. And we have, what else do we have on here? Oh, we have a cool, I really, really hope we don't get any pushback from anybody on this, but there's a trans rights resolution from 2 Nguyen, 11A. I doubt that this will make a stink, but the person who would make the stink, if she really wanted to, is probably Donna Calorio. definitely somebody who is not all the way on board with that sort of thing. If I
Yeah.
know anything about her.
Thankfully, while 2 is talking, Dot will be right next door, and we'll get to see the reaction on her face up close. And so, yeah, make sure we're ready to clip that as much as possible.
So wait, what do we have here? Ed is apparently having a goodbye open house at City Hall. What the hell? That's kind of weird.
Maybe that's what the police were called there for today.
Oh yeah, right. So yeah, so you texted that to me, but tell me a little bit more about that. So you're listening to the scanner, right? It was like
I'm just one of those nerds that if I'm not listening to a podcast, I've got the scanner on in my ear, right? I find it hilarious. And
yeah.
Dispatcher came on, and I have to guess it was Nicole Valentine because they said Nicole by name in a way that
like on a first name basis, right?
Like we know who's calling.
Yeah.
To report that they had locked themselves in the manager's office because there was, I'm trying to remember the description. A large American woman was in the hallway screaming for the manager to come out. And
a large American woman? No way. Are you making that up, or was that?
No. That's, I'm 99% sure that was the descriptive language that came through, and it was like immediately, like the whole army was on their way.
Yeah, right. Activate the SWAT team.
One person showed up and was like, okay, everybody else go home. Like, I don't need anybody else here. So it must have just been a City Hall regular, probably trying to say goodbye. Or it could have been Wolfpaw. I don't know. Like, who knows what was going on there. But I
texted somebody at City Hall and I was like, hey, what's the deal with that? And they're like, well, we have some regulars.
It was just the description over the air was just fascinating. That they're barricaded in the manager's office because somebody's out in the hallway screaming, demanding that the manager come out and speak to them.
We have a large American woman. She keeps throwing her Cumbies slushies at the door, and she reeks like McDonald's. Oh man, that's great.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully that's like a code word for like one of the regulars. Like they know exactly who it is because they just call her large American woman. That'd be really funny. That'd be fucking great. Hey, so just personal fucking beef here. 8.9C urban forestry master planning sessions, June 1st and June 2nd. We're putting together a tree plan. We still don't have a fucking tree commission. My application for the tree commission is still pending. It's not like what's going on with that?
Eric Batista will take care of it.
Yeah, right. Eric Batista, yeah. He'll take care of it. He's our golden boy. He can do no wrong. And you know what? I'm really encouraged about with Eric Batista? He just seems so comfortable speaking to the city council every time he speaks. He just seems like he's really ready to be in charge of that situation. So
next poet laureate, probably.
Yeah, for sure. And we have the premium pay. Luckily, there's a proposal on for premium pay for ARPA funds for city employees, which seemed at the time like it was going to be just a transparent payout to the cops. But it actually is more of a decent plan than I thought it was going to be. You qualify for $3,000 if you make below $60,000, $1,500 if you make above. And if you make more than $150 of the area median income, which I think puts you in like the $100,000 range, you don't make anything. So that's cool. That's just going to go to like low level workers who were out in the thick of it. And, good plan. Much better than I think Mo Bergman was asking for, because it seemed like he really just wanted to get the cops a fat $5,000.
Any language as to whether or not they're going to figure in detail pay as part of the metric there? I
don't remember any language being in there, but
you look at their gross, I think we hit the $300,000 mark for at least one cop this year. But when it comes to their actual salary, most of them are under 100,000, or at least most of the younger folks are under 100,000.
I'll pull it up. I'll put it in the chat too. Why not?
The one thing that caught my eye, just because I don't know, made me chuckle. There's something in here about our 311 service. I think Eric is going to be speaking to that. I'm 99% sure this is something that Rick Rushton implemented like 15 years ago. Like
the 311. I've never even heard of this. I
thought we always had one. That I didn't realize that we still didn't roll it out. This was I think it was Cambridge and Somerville had done it. It was the year that Rick was running for mayor, and he was spending a lot of time with Joe Curtatone out there. always thought this was in place. It's just basically a parallel to the 911 service, but for non-emergencies. And it's
like there's a tree falling over in my street or something.
angry squirrel won't get out of my garbage.
Yeah, right.
Which currently people do, in fact, call the police for if you spend enough time listening to the scanner.
So after you texted me, I put on the scanner, and the first thing I heard was, there's a very large turtle walking down the road. And they're like, can we get a cop on that? Like, somebody called the cops because they saw a turtle walking down the road. Like, what the fuck?
There is now a turtle riddled with bullet holes somewhere over by Lake Quinsigamon. Yeah.
Right. They fucking got that up like a skeet shooter. Threw it like a frisbee. Yeah. Oh, that kind of makes me sad to think of that. I'm bummed that came into my head. And 13A, later on in the agenda, we have in order to actually do an RFP for a search committee for a national search for a city manager. This is, like I said earlier, sort of in not in keeping with the deal we gave Eric Batista, that we're going to take this seriously and also give Eric Batista such a good deal to be the acting city manager. But
it's fascinating because those two items and the contract all came out of the same meeting of the same committee. So there's the potential for a very, very good Christian King show tonight.
Yeah.
The rest of the season might suck, but this could be a must-watch episode of the Christian King show.
Yeah, and everyone else being like, I don't know if we have to really go through with going for a national search. We got the right guy right here already. The developers already know his name. Why would we have to find another guy the developers don't know? You know?
Wild.
That's great. I mean, like, honestly, like you probably could get them all to say it publicly because they're dumb, but like that really is the metric for city manager, is how cozy they are and how willing they are to go to the proverbial dick sucking mat for the developers who want to build in our city.
And the painful part of it is that, you could probably think of a few people that had been working in City Hall and no longer are, that would fit the same mold, but even they would have the wherewithal to say, hey, don't say that out loud. Like, right. Like, don't do that. And I feel like that's what we're being left with, is the most transparent bullshit possible, that this isn't about what's good for the city. It's what's good for the development class or whatever's left of it before the entire economy shits the bed.
And I mean, there is, I pulled a quote out today from, what's his fucking face over at the Worcester Redevelopment Authority, Michael Angelini, who we should do like an entire, like episode or whatever, just going through who Michael Angelini is, what he does. He Ed Augustus might be like somebody with his like little puppet master freaking hands in the way power works in Worcester, but Michael Angelini is like way, way worse than that. He
legit Sith Lord. He is a legit Sith.
Like you want to talk like actual most powerful people in Worcester, like it comes down to either him or Jim McGovern, really. And honestly, open question. But he's quoted in this Telegram article today where they're patting their backs for finally selling the last two parcels of this like city square urban renewal project that's been going on for like the entire time I've been covering Worcester, like the past decade. And just like, here's what he says. He goes, "We've made tremendous progress. There's still ways to go. A vibrant downtown community needs more than residences. It needs the services those residents need and want. I don't think we've yet created what is typically regarded as a complete neighborhood here, with a grocery store and a dry cleaner and services that people use as a neighborhood." And it's like, yeah, no shit, you haven't. And also, people stopped trying to create neighborhoods in the 1960s.
Right.
You just let the city develop.
Yeah.
Make sure that your zoning codes are good and that you're not getting in the way of things, and let neighborhoods be neighborhoods. But Worcester is just so addicted to like this incredibly outmoded strategy of urban development where they just cannot let let the city do what cities do. They have to get in the
Right.
way and muck it up. And
Well,
like
and anything organically is just, yeah, it makes them itchy if you try and do that. And it's kind of sad because even the folks that, you may respect or whatnot, like the idea that there's a group of people in City Hall who were so good at SimCity that they should be dictating what
yeah, right, exactly.
what the future for everybody else looks like.
Yeah,
And it's yeah, I mean, the biggest problem downtown is, like, to Mike's point, I guess, that there aren't any people down there. Right, if you look at
yeah,
01608 from like a population perspective, there are no residences down there. That's just starting to happen, and only because of the pandemic. So, like, I feel like in a lot of these folks' heads, like, there already are people living down there. That's a very, very new development, starting with 154 Front, and a
yeah.
lot of the legacy housing that kind of bleeds just a little bit into 01608. But there really, historically, since the 50s, hasn't been anyone down there.
Yeah, and it's like what they want so bad is to like have a neighborhood that attracts like whatever they think is like the young white urban professional. Like they watched a show of Girls on HBO and they were like, that's what we want. And it's just so ironic because they're trying to build that, and meanwhile the Canal District in Green Street was slowly turning into something that might conceivably be that.
Yep.
In like 20 years, and they have done nothing but just fucking get in the way of that. Like,
they did the classic SimCity move of dropping a sports stadium right in the middle of it and then watching it fucking haywire.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's one of the points I want to make when I finally get around to doing my big like people's history of I-290, because that's where we're still living in the shadow of that. That's the kind of the best way to think about Polar Park and 290 are the same fucking thing. But where's this meeting at? Travis, where are we at with this meeting? Are they playing it yet?
Looks like there's a delay on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what it is? It's because they're in finance committee right now. But you know what we can do, Travis, is we can just pop into the finance committee. And the annoying thing about this, from just like a people understanding what the fuck is going on thing, is they don't play it on the same channel, the finance committee meetings. Like it's like you have to go to some different channel.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll pull it up right now. And I need to do the research on it to just go back maybe like 5 years and see how long it took them to like approve a budget. But it really seems to me that they're rushing through this really fast, really hard, to the point where it's annoying to try to even keep up with it. Like I don't think that we've even had time to like let it marinate enough that anyone like understands if there even are problems in the budget. Like it's just like we got to get this done so we can approve it before Ed go bye.
Well, I think that's just it too, is between the superintendent leaving and Ed leaving. I would hesitate to say that they are not doing anything criminal, but they're definitely cutting corners that are typically not cut. There's a lot. Yeah. It always seems like there's a lot more public discussion, even if it's not the like the nitty gritty of each section. It seems like there is more public discussion about the sections overall.
Right. Hold on. Where are we at with this? It might honestly even be on live stream number 2, but like it takes place in the same fucking room and it's the same people. So it's like, why is it on a different channel? Yeah. You open, like, there's 2 live streams for the City of Worcester's like government channel. The primary one, live stream number 1, is doing the thing where they read the telegram front to back, which I love. Honestly, I think that's so cool. And channel 2 isn't streaming, but the finance committee is happening like currently. So is it just not being streamed, or
maybe there's another hostage situation outside of the manager's office? Yeah,
I don't know. Or maybe they could be in like some sort of like 15-minute break or whatever. But
Jack had a request earlier, and I think we should satisfy his desires. Can we talk about the Telegram and Gazette having a picture of Major Taylor and labeling it Abby Hoffman?
Oh, dude, it's so good. It is the Worcester equivalent of if the New York Times put a picture of Martin Luther King on the front page and said it was like Andy Warhol. Right? It's so fucking funny. And so like I got some inside baseball in here. So Travis, let me find the finance committee into 615 is so here's what happens is the locals that still work in Worcester, the part of the paper, are basically just the reporters, the editors, and the ad reps.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else about the entire operation that would have historically taken place in the same building now is outsourced all across the country, because that's what these companies do when they buy papers. They buy papers and they cut jobs and they consolidate. So all the papers are laid out in Austin, Texas. And that's been the practice. And that's for every single paper that Gatehouse or Gannett owns throughout the country. So while it's still not entirely excusable to like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's Abby Hoffman. Definitely 100% Abby Hoffman. Like it's not entirely excusable for somebody who grew up in Texas to not know the difference between Major Taylor or any black man in general and Abby Hoffman. It's a lot more excusable than if it was someone from Worcester, where these are like people with enduring legacies and icon statuses. But still, it's hilarious. And it is like, it's one of those things where people just,
it deserves to be mocked ruthlessly.
You lose a lot of credibility fast for doing stuff like that. That's not just a typo, that just belies that you don't know what you're fucking doing. And, in a world in which our local paper of record was imploring people who know and care about the community to put the paper out, this probably doesn't happen. That's not the world we live in, because we're on a runaway train, and it's just journalism doesn't matter anymore. But Abby Hoffman would have been fucking stoked on that. Abby Hoffman would have thought that was the funniest thing in the world. It's a shame that Abby Hoffman's spirit doesn't have a Twitter account, because he would have been coming with the heat on this one for sure.
Probably would have republished soon to be a major motion picture as retitled Black Like Me, the Abby Hoffman story.
Yeah, for real. Abby Hoffman's awesome. That's one of the things that has been on the back burner for me for a while, is I really want to do just a loose little history story about Abby Hoffman's time in Worcester and the stuff he did in Worcester, because there's a lot there. And it's all good stuff, and it makes a lot of sense that guy was from Worcester and then went on to do what he did.
Oh, totally.
We have been cultivating annoying people, righteously annoying people in the city for a long time. It's deeply ingrained in our culture to be rude, obnoxious, and irreverent. It's one of our great strengths as a city, and we need to be facilitating it. And Abby Hoffman, best example. And yeah, there's a bunch of really cool sort of radical political people from Worcester. There's Emma Goldman, Abby Kelly Foster, Abby Hoffman. I mean, Major Taylor, sure, not as much of an activist, but an important person. And all of that should be. Oh, and of course, Christopher Columbus. That's why we have a statue of him and not any of those people out in front of Union Station. Christopher Columbus, of course, a very well-respected member of the Worcester community. Definitely 100% Italian.
Yep.
Just like everyone who's Italian American is definitely 100%, really Italian.
And they're all explorers too.
It deserves to have a claim to Italian heritage. And they're all explorers who did a really good job exploring, knew exactly what they were doing, and definitely didn't parlay exploring into slaving, as they say. No.
Just legitimate business.
Legitimate businessmen. It's all about legitimate business. It's all about legitimate business. And you know what? If your legitimate business has, a little bit of child raping, a little bit of slavery, that's just, cost.
They were different times.
Right. You got to factor it into the equation. Yeah. Hey, send this to Gary Vecchio so he can sue me. I would parlay that lawsuit. Oh my God. I'm actually kind of surprised I haven't been sued yet, honestly. But
what would you really be sued for, though?
I don't know. I mean, like it's right, but people do lawsuits, bad faith defamation lawsuits all the time.
No, I know, but I mean, that's like when I look back at Mike Gaffney and Aiden's lawsuit and whatnot. Like, I mean, the judge must have been sitting there saying, "Is this a lawsuit or is this a divorce mediation?" Like,
it felt like a divorce mediation,
right? I mean, like, what are you really suing the dude for here at this point, or each other? For?
Yeah, that was funny a little bit to follow in the beginning, but it got annoying because Mike Gaffney thought I was on his side and would like text me about the case all the time. And I would just ignore it, but he wouldn't stop him from texting it. And he'd be like using language like, "Oh, we're going to get this guy." Like we were like in it together or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, I don't care about either. You both fucking suck. What do you want from me?
Frosted tips be damned.
I was literally the only reason why I covered any of this in the first place was because I thought it was funny. I don't give a shit one way or the other how this turns out. And
continues to be funny. I mean, it will be funny for generations to come.
Yes, the legacy of Mike Gaffney, like, you kind of miss a guy like that sometimes because, without Mike Gaffney now, the people who have filled in to play the part of Mike Gaffney are way less entertaining.
Oh, totally.
Kate Toomey, Mo Bergman, Donna Colorio, and Kenny Merrill Carlson could not hold a candle to Mike Gaffney in the way that he was able to present himself and how annoying he was able to be.
I went back and I watched the first interview that Mike Benedetti and I did when he first ran for council on 508 last week. And I mean, I was much younger and naive at the time. I would not let somebody with that kind of glare within 10 feet of me, like we did in that interview, knowing what I know now. Like, I mean, we were sitting at a park bench with somebody who clearly was getting ready to pounce and start just smashing our heads open with a rock at any second.
Yeah, Mike Gaffney has a killer's energy. You're right about that. And like,
he's not a small dude either. So like, he also has the killer's potential.
Killer's energy, killer's potential. I was saying that back, when did he get booted or didn't run again or whatever it was? It was like 2017 or 2019, one of those. I was like the meetings after Mike Gaffney, I was just like waiting for him to come in with like a gun. Like it was like that could have happened. The guy was and like in a different world, under a different set of circumstances, a guy like that goes on to be some Patrick Bateman type corporate ladder climber. But we got to see him try to do that in the state Republican Party, which was just a treat to watch. Yeah. Didn't work out for him, but it was a treat. I'll tell you that.
Glad I was here for it.
Yeah. 2017. Yeah, 2017 was it. Here we go.
Oh, Ida and Racist Grandpa together again.
A match made in heaven. I'm gonna write an erotic fan fiction about them. And then can I submit that as a petition, even if it's like 5,000 words?
I think so.
Then, like, I would be allowed to read it, right?
At least it's entered into the official record.
It would be entered in the official record.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll both have something to say about Shot Spotter. That's what I'm guessing they'll hone in on. Yeah, we got to get a recording of this one. I just want to know. I want to know what choir was singing this. Yeah. Gaffney went out, like that Neil Young song. It's better to burn out than fade away. That's what Mike Gaffney did there at the end. Remember when he was just posting workout videos all the time? Like he was just like posting videos of him like lifting. It was.
And I mean, again, let's be fair. When he left, dude was yoked. I mean,
he was yoked. He took it serious. He took it so serious. Hey, remember when he tried to run his wife against Sarai Rivera? God, that was such a good time for Worcester politics. I feel like I'm reliving the old days. You know?
I mean, it was back when it was like a little scary, but at least it was fun. Now
Yeah.
it's just terrifying.
Now it's both terrifying, more mundane, and way more depressing.
Do a roll call.
He called me a wet behind the ears. Is that a
Bergman?
Yeah.
Is that a verb? Is that a noun
Here.
now?
Councilor
Oh
Gia?
yeah, I'm a wet behind the
Councilor
ears.
King?
That's really funny though.
Councilor Ian?
God damn.
Councilor Rivera?
Here.
Oh my
Rose?
god, it's cocktail
Councilor
shows,
Russell?
dude.
Here.
Councilor Two?
What were those called?
Everybody.
It was like
Here.
making drinks with
Okay.
Mike or something.
Before we get to we do the approval of the minutes.
Korean
Favor?
Gaffney though, yeah.
Opposed to award.
What a
Councilor
legend.
Toomey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we start, I just was hoping that we could have a moment of silence for Candace Asara Yeboah, the 5-year-old who was hit along with her mother by an SUV in Worcester last month, succumbed to her injuries in the hospital today. Our hearts and prayers go out to the family, and just so sad and such a tragic event. So
Okay.
we could have a moment
Stand
of
for a
silence.
moment of silence.
All right, I gotta go to the bathroom. People get hit by cars in Worcester all the freaking time. Is it frozen? Or are they just being really?
Well, they announced a moment of silence, but they didn't decide who was going to break it. So I think we're just going to be sitting here for a while.
I honestly couldn't tell for a second if it was frozen or. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers, but definitely
We
don't
approve
do
those. Those in
anything to
favor,
make there
opposed
be
to
actual
reported.
sidewalks in
We've
Worcester
asked to
or
hold some
safer.
items tonight.
Can't have
So,
holds.
we're going from chairman's orders. We're going to hold.
Yeah, the numbers on
Hold on, I can
pedestrian
see the
accident-
holds.
9B,
9A, 9B.
which is the legal opinion regarding the change in the charter for salaries for elected officials, and also request the council work to ensure the city council and school committee districts are parallel. So those two items are being held. 10C.
I gotta find out who held them.
Council's order on the master plan for Channel Hill Park. Don Coriolis asked we hold a resolution 11A.
Whoa!
And also we have two items because we had some issues with the internet. A lot of these items didn't get posted properly, so I'm going to hold 8.11A, which is the shop spotter.
What?
And also 11.15A, which is the rental registry. So that'll be on the calendar for the next meeting also.
All right,
And,
let's go home.
With that, we are going to public participation.
What does that mean? We had a problem with the internet.
Persons
That's-
may
I
speak
opened
for
the
2
report.
minutes on any items appearing on
The internet was
agenda.
broken, or
What's your name, say your
someone
residence
didn't know what
and
they were
item
doing.
Fred Nathan Worcester.
I'm good.
9D, 9G, and anything dealing with the police. We've been coming in here for months, years, and it's always stuff about the police. Can we let the police do their job and stop asking for reports a year after something may or may not have happened? Let the police do their job. And a little thing. I don't know what number it was on, but in previous weeks, the drones. I just want to revert back to that and just say this. I can't say without any guarantees, but it's quite possible if Worcester had drones, there may not have been such a loss of life on Gage Street. Not saying positively, but who knows?
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak?
This guy.
Your name, say your residence.
You just start bringing tomatoes to the council meetings
And
just to
item
throw them
number?
at him.
Idella Hazard, excuse me, City of Worcester. I'd like to speak on 9K and on 9M in regards to the
Wow.
Worcester
The
Police and the
1-2
Worcester
punch.
Fire training.
Spent a lot of
on
time
diversity
tanning this
and
weekend,
with
Ida.
Yeah.
The training for the chief of fire and the Chief.
Oh, wow. That is an A+ shirt. I'm still hot.
One of the things I would like to suggest is that they get outside trainers for diversity. Because what we've been doing for the past 35 years
This is too much.
really has not been working.
I'm still hot. That's such a good shirt.
And I don't mind
It says,
saying
I'm
that
still hot. It just comes in flashes.
because I know personally from experience, my own experience on the police
Had to screen grab that.
and family members on the fire. We hire them, meaning myself and other minorities. And
Wait,
we
was
get them
Ida a
off.
police
She
officer?
sent out to make that
Actually,
comment.
dare them to stay. They're ridiculed, they're put down, degraded. I mean, you name it. A lot of us have left early. I only stayed 6 years. I'm a very smart woman. I was trained just like everybody else. I should have stayed 40 years. And it's happened over and over. I see the clock too, Mr. Mayor. You do this to me all the time. As soon as I say something, you look at the clock and then you take my time out so that I have to stop and say, please, treat me equal. So I think that we need outside trainers coming in. We've had diversity officers, minorities. Then the next thing you know, the diversity officers are white. What do they know? Then we've had city diversity officers.
He's taking up a whole
citywide.
row.
They don't stay. This is what I'm telling you. Professional minorities are not staying. Something is wrong. We need to get outside.
He's trying to make himself the thickest blue line possible.
Have a serious problem here in Worcester, and it absolutely needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay.
Wait, so did Ida work for the
Anybody else?
police department?
Sir, what's your name to the resident?
I don't know. I don't know her backstory at all.
Good evening, Michael Rocher, 99 Richmond Avenue. I have an item here that's not on your agenda, but I think it's quite important, if you don't mind.
We have
Sick.
to suspend the rules. You want to suspend the rules? The rules of the council has to be on the agenda.
I understand.
But this isn't.
It's a life safety issue for the city of Worcester. I'll only take 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, here's what got held.
All
That's
those
a
in
lot.
Favor? Opposed, so ordered. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I came to Worcester about 11 years ago.
hold on, I
after
wanna
a
hear what this
tornado
guy
in
says.
Munson. I came here temporarily. Worcester has evolved in the last 10 years to something remarkable. They've revitalized the downtown. We've got the public park.
Well, he came
Remarkable
from
things.
Monson. Cut him some slack.
I'd like to see another remarkable thing happen.
Uh-oh.
We had that fire on Gage Street. It's an industry I'm in. I install fire alarm systems. If what I hear on the news is true, and it's a 6-unit apartment building, Mass
Oh, I
General
should
Laws,
get a
Chapter
Dell
14826C that was passed decades ago would require that building to have a fire alarm system connected to Central Station. This city has the most awesome fire department. They move in 3 minutes to a property. If we can get detection, notification, and get the fire department notified, that's great. The requirement of meeting this is a building owner issue. The fire department doesn't go door to door and knock and see if you put your carbon monoxide detector in. And they shouldn't be having to go door to door to see if you comply with Chapter 14826C. And I have copies of this for you.
Is this guy really
Volunteer
soliciting the
my
city
time
council
to
right now
educate
for
the
his
city.
fucking fire
If
alarm
you'd like
company?
some public service
Dude, going door to door is
announcement,
exhausting.
building owners,
Just go to V-
so they can look
go to
at all
V-door.
properties, and if they don't have a fire alarm system connected, to call the fire department and get it done. Because I walked the street in 1 hour in Worcester on Saturday, and I found 8 buildings that have 6 units or more built prior to 1975 without fire alarm systems, and I'd rather not have any more people in the city of Worcester die.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How'd you walk around and figure out who has fire alarms and who doesn't? That's a pretty thin fucking story, dude. Get the fuck out of here. It's an awful problem, but don't fucking come here and try to sell shit. Just
You can
fuck-
see the
Coffin,
cellular
and
hookup on the outside of the
zoning,
building if they're
attached to the
retrofitted.
item number.
Okay.
I'm a resident of Worcester and CEO at Center for Living and Working,
Wolf
whose
Paul on the
mission is
top
to
left.
ensure that those living with disabilities can live independently as equal members of society. I'm here to express full support for the inclusionary zoning policy being considered this evening.
So Yenny, what got
The
held
Independent Living
is
Center, our biggest challenge is
Shot
assisting our
Spotter
consumers
and the
in
rental
obtaining
registry.
affordable and accessible
We don't know who
housing.
held those.
What was difficult before
And
COVID
then
has now become a
9A and
crisis,
9B,
not only
which
from the
are
impact of COVID, but from the renaissance occurring
the
in the
stuff
city, which has
about
made Worcester an
parallel
extremely
districts
desirable location for property developers.
for the school
We
committee
have
and
consumers who can
the
wait
city
for
council.
up to 8 years to
So
find
that's getting
appropriate
held too.
housing in the
We don't
city,
know
and
who
others are
held
being
those,
priced out of
but
the
we
housing
do
they
know that
currently
Donna
have.
Colurial held
One of our programs
choose
assists those who are
resolution
age 65
on
and
trans
have a
rights
disability
and legal
to move out of
protections,
nursing homes
which
back
is an
into the
incredible
city.
look.
We assist these
Honestly, it's
assist
holding
these
it.
individuals by
It's
applying for
purely
benefits
symbolic resolution.
within
She's holding it
obtaining
without
wraparound services, and we have
giving
funding
a
to
reason.
assist them
That's
obtain first
fucking.
and last
That's
month's
just
rent.
great.
And
Well, certainly she just wanted to give it more
requirements.
time.
Even with all this support, the lack
Yeah,
of
right.
available housing forces them to remain
Yeah,
institutionalized
there's no
for
reason to
months,
hold
if
that.
not years.
It's
Often younger
symbolic.
disabled individuals are forced to
Well,
live
I
in
mean, if
nursing
you
homes because there's not
if you hate
available
trans people,
alternative
there's
housing
a
for
reason
them
to
in
hold
their
that.
community.
There's that. Yep.
Every time I read in the newspaper about a new development being built in the city, I eagerly look to see if there will be any affordable and accessible units. And I'm disappointed when
This
I
guy's
read
going to
all
hand
the
out a few
apartments
cards
will be
and
market
head on
rate.
home.
This policy is one that will be fully supported by the Center for Living and Working and the consumers that we
Took a
serve.
picture, sent it to his boss,
We
proved he was
prioritize
there.
family-sized units for those below 60% of the area median income, and the policy should be implemented quickly before more real estate developments are permitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Should name say your name, say your residence and item number.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time and attention. My name is Gina Platanino, and I am an attorney, but I'm here today as co-chair of the Worcester Together Housing Coalition in support of item 8.4A. Our coalition is
It was really interesting
advocates of
that
housing developers.
he blamed computer problems
I want to applaud the
on
administration
the
and
Shot
city
Spotter
manager for proposing
item being
inclusionary
held.
zoning policy.
Did anybody have
Their
any
ARPA's
computer
listening
problems
sessions clearly
opening that
demonstrated
report up? I mean,
residents were
like, I
deeply
got the whole
concerned about
report.
the increased cost of housing in Worcester.
That's kind of
According to a
sketchy
2021
to me.
National Low
I
Income
don't
Housing
necessarily think
Report,
that's the
the
real
fair
reason.
market rent for a two-bedroom apartment in Worcester is $1,450. In order to afford
Maybe
this rent
the
and
Shot Spotter
utilities
home
without
office
paying
was
more than
having
30% of
connectivity
their
issues
income,
and they couldn't
a
send over
household
their
needs to
talking
earn
points.
$27.88 per hour. The average
True,
wage
true.
of renters
Maybe
in
they were supposed
Worcester
to log
is
on
around
and
$14.29.
speak for the police on this one,
75% of renters are
as
severely
they've done
cost
before.
burdened. That means that 75% of Worcester renters
Sounds
spend
like
more
a
than
dog
30%
ate their
of their
homework or
income on
something.
rent and utilities.
Yeah, I
As
don't
an
know what's
expert
going on
on
with
food
that.
security, I can tell you that one of the biggest factors contributing to food insecurity is high rent prices. USDA has stated that the burden of high housing costs is a chronic issue that reduces housing stability and increases the risk of food insecurity. Families who are experiencing food insecurity have a 62% higher odds of also facing housing instability. As such, a policy that requires inclusionary zoning.
Racist grandpa keeps
will be
staring over
greatly
his
relief
shoulder
for
at
many of these
Jim
individuals.
Leary.
We are in fully support
That would
of
be
inclusionary zoning
that would
at
make the night for
60%
me. Is
and
if those
below
two get into
area
a fist
median
fight
income.
and we get to
This
watch
will increase
Jim Leary
increase housing
beat down
options for
racist
those
grandpa.
struggling to find safe
Where's Jim
and affordable
Leary?
places to live.
In the suit
While
with the
inclusionary
mask on.
zoning will not resolve all of the housing
But
crisis,
what is that guy? What,
give our
I don't
community
know
more
him.
affordable
Used to be
apartments,
state rep.
developments, and
Oh,
no
okay.
material costs to the
He
municipality
works over at
while
UMass now.
increasing our residents'
Gotcha.
social and economic ability. We encourage the Economic Development Standing Committee and the Worcester City Council to swiftly pass this policy and begin implementation as soon as possible, prioritizing family-sized units and other units suited for individuals making below 60% of the area median income. Our coalition stands with resources and with data to support this policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
Good evening, Greg Degamasian, Hartshorn Ave.
Kate Jim was gonna be like, I don't know why these people
Here,
just don't
this
make the
evening
area
to,
median
speak,
income. Why don't they just do
advocate
that?
for
It's not our job.
8.10, with the fire department. This new software, GeoTeam-Z, I read the narrative just about an hour ago, and I'm really excited because the narrative doesn't really do full justice.
This guy screams excitement. When he says I'm really excited, I can't help but listen to him. I
He
mean,
means it. He means
real-time information coming in to the companies responding as soon as that alarm is struck. And things such as, fire options for fire hooking.
that'd be sick if racist grandpa had an
water
eye patch.
pressure and surf.
I'd sell the
what's
whole
going on
character.
surface Streets, buildings and surrounding areas. It's unbelievable stuff, and you could have a whole meeting just on this tonight. But
Oh,
strong
yeah, I don't know if you
advocate
could,
for
dude.
that, and, thank you very much.
Oh, there it
Thank you.
is.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yvette Dyson, and I'm the Executive Director of Worcester Common Ground, a community development corporation for the Piedmont-Austin area. I'm also a member of the Worcester Together Affordable Housing Coalition and represent both organizations in my effort to work with the city to implement inclusionary zoning for our residents at the 60% area median income. This represents 75% of our renters in Worcester in search of
That's an interesting
housing
fact.
that they can
Mhm.
afford and so that they can also live and play and work downtown and not spend more than 30% of their already low wages for a rental unit. I'm thankful to our city manager and his team in understanding the need for more affordable housing. As we have been fortunate as a city to grow, we need to be inclusive and to maintain options for all income levels. CDCs cannot possibly create enough affordable housing, nor should the neighborhoods surrounding downtown be saturated with the concentration of poverty. Mixed income developments will create a more vibrant downtown, and it will provide educational opportunities for families and lessening the burden on schools. As CDCs and serving residents on a daily basis, we know the wait lists are long for affordable housing. Worcester Common Ground had over 300 applicants for our 31 units at 126 Chandler, and currently the Main South CDC has 1,700 applicants for their 47 units that'll be coming online in the coming months. Inclusionary zoning won't completely resolve the need, but if 10% of each private development going forward could provide these precious units to those at 60% area median income or lower, it will certainly make a difference. We fully support inclusionary zoning. We want to prioritize setting aside family side 3-bedroom units that are of the same quality as the units surrounding them. We also hope that this process can move quickly before new developments are permitted. We ask our City Council's Economic Development Committee to hold a public hearing so that we can have public participation from our residents in order to determine an equitable ordinance to further better living conditions for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Names to your residence and item number.
Good evening, Jim Leary from Worcester, and I'm here representing UMass Memorial Health. I'd like to speak on two items, 12A and 8.4A. First, regarding 12A, this is an item that was sent by the Planning Board with their full approval for rezoning of what used to be the Beaumont Skilled Nursing Center immediately next to the UMass Memorial campus on Lake Ave. As many of you know, our intention when we bought that about a year ago is to convert that former nursing facility into hospital beds. Central Massachusetts has a shortage.
I like it when people who know about particular issues come to city council and they're like, can you please just do anything? And the city council is like, I don't know.
We can do
Sounds like a lot.
something, but not that.
We can do something. Sounds like a lot.
Memorial Campus.
What if we just did it a little bit more dumb than proposed? That's what we do. We're comfortable with that.
Would you settle for an all-American city sign at the end of a 290 off-ramp?
Yeah, right.
We've had very long waits in the emergency department. We've also had to turn away many patients who have been referred from other hospitals. This will help to alleviate it. And timing is pretty critical on this. As soon as we get approval for the zoning, we'll be applying with the state for determination of need. So I would respectfully ask for your support on that. With regard to 8.4A, the inclusionary zoning proposal, you've heard from others already on this, and I, on behalf of UMass Memorial, just want to affirm that social determinants of health, and housing is one of the key social determinants of health, have more of an impact on people's health than actually what we do in the hospital. Approximately 60% of an individual's health is determined by things such as their housing conditions, access to healthy food, transportation, quality of life, and the like. affordable housing, what we have seen during COVID, as well as with other conditions, is something that contributes either in a positive or negative way to somebody's health outcomes. Negatively with asthma, with transmission of disease.
You know what I
that is
like with all this
overcrowding,
holding
there's
of
bad
late
conditions.
is that, like,
So to the degree
the only
that this can
way
address both
counselors have decided
affordability
that they can
and
exercise
quality,
any sort
we
of
would
political
expect that it will
power is
actually
just by,
improve
like,
health outcomes.
making the
And it
meetings
goes
more
with- it should go
confusing.
without saying
It's
that
like
won't. I want to
shuffling
credit the
around
city
what
manager
what
for
gets
his
talked
foresight
about
in
when.
filing this.
You know, just like,
It's
oh,
great.
I have a
Run
problem with
through
this.
the
I'm going to
state
make sure we talk about
at
it
the
next
end
week.
of his tenure in
Maybe they'll
office.
stop paying attention by then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really freaking. Yeah,
Should we
Matt.
do the
That's
resolution item number?
whenever the experts come in, it's just like, oh, let's go,
Okay, my
Wolfpaw.
name is Rhonda Wahaya Wolfpaw, and I actually want to speak on the zoning. And I'm speaking here as someone that fights for restorative justice and for DCF, foster kids, going on and on and on. But it all
No,
comes
no,
down
it
to
was
housing,
Donna Calorio
because it's taken me 9
that
years
held
to find housing
that held it.
here.
Joe Petty said Donna
Because
Calorio held it.
I sued a slumlord. I'm getting so many stories from all these people about these slumlords. They're losing, they're getting kicked out. There's bed bugs, there's scabies, and there's no one here for these ex-prisoners. There's no housing. They're not going to get to their kids if they're trying to fight through DCF to get their kids, because there's no housing. There's nothing. You can give vouchers out. They run out. They go on the next fiscal year, but we need housing affordable because it's getting worse. And my grandson has been stuck in DCF because of no housing. So this needs to stop. It really does, because this might be a great city to some people, Worcester. It's not. It's not for the homeless. It's not for the poor. It's not for the people that work 2 jobs to live in a place that's falling apart. We need somewhere to live, or we're going to throw some teepees on the common, because this has got to stop. Please, come on. Your kids, these are your kids. These are the future. And they're out there. Even the Afghan vets are getting ignored on the corner. So this needs to stop. And I'm going to keep coming. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows I speak out of what I feel. This city has taken my grandson for 9 years from me. 9 years because I couldn't find housing. So Bill Lichtenstein, he's actually done documentaries for ABC, NBC. He actually wants this story because of the housing part, because I can't get my grandson, my daughter can't, there's no housing because we're tribal, federal tribal. So the state is putting it on the city. We can't find housing. We can't find housing for the prisoners. So they're just getting angrier. They're becoming more. So people really need to really think about it. Think about the future.
Wolfpaw's like, you
You're
guys
thinking
are a
about
void,
money,
and I will
money,
shout
money,
into
money.
it
You can't take
every
that
week.
with you when you die. These kids, they are coming to me, still wanting me to speak, because they don't feel like they're being heard. So I'm going to keep speaking, and I speak passionately about these kids because they're our future.
Thank you.
What else?
I love that at the end. Just like, whatever. You fuckers.
Name, your residence, name, number.
You fucking fuckers.
My name is Ruth Rodriguez Fay from Worcester, and I'd like to speak on item number 3.
I'm going to see if I can turn on my
Worcester
air
School
conditioner and
budget.
it's not awful for
I
the
want you
stream.
to think for a minute. I was the first school community.
Also, this lady is the
liaison when
biggest
bilingual
sweetheart
program
in
started
Worcester, bar none. She's so good.
Worcester decided to implement the program before the state mandate went on. And the federal government provided Worcester 100% over for every Latino students that was in the bilingual program for 7 years. So actually, our students are bringing funds to the city. We're paying for their own. Today, and back then, the majority of students were white. There were never any police taking money away from services that the students need to hire police. But today, because the majority of students are Latino and Black, all of a sudden the district thinks that they need policing and not counseling for Black and Latino students who need the help and not the policing. If you Google the U.S. Census Bureau
You're good,
report,
Bill.
that found that Massachusetts is the worst state for us Latino to live in. We have the highest Latino youth incarceration. Worcester, as it was found, Latino students are suspended and expelled 85% higher than white students for committing similar infraction. Instead of providing the funds to help our children in our public school, we are taking money away and hiring policing. One of the issues in the U.S. Census Bureau is that Massachusetts has the highest, listen to this, highest Latino youth incarceration.
Can you wrap up your comments?
And he has the highest Latino youth school dropout, and I call it push out. So I am asking this body to consider in your budget and come together with our community so you can provide our children the service that they need in order to
Thank you.
succeed in our public school.
Thank you.
I had a really, really nice lunch with her one time when I was trying to dig in on the suspension thing.
have-
She really, really knows her
Raise their
stuff.
hand,
And she
on
cares
the
a lot.
virtual Platform. We're trying to unmute Ethel Catella now.
My name is Keith Scott. I'm from the city of Worcester. Presently, I'm looking for a home because it's saying that Zillow took over the house and I've been going through a lot of things. I've been sick. People have been riding over my legs and taking me down, knocking me out and everything else. And that's not the first time. I mean, I've been knocked out 4 times and laid in front of the city hall in the daytime. I've been hearing all kinds of things going on. And I'm just trying to get back together because I was talking to my family, you know, my brothers and sisters, my nieces and nephew, and they all been going through things with the city. I appreciate with everything because the first thing.
Have you ever talked to Mr. Scott, Bill?
No, I'm not familiar with this guy.
If you get a chance to, when you're working on your project about the history of 290, learn more about that from Mr. Scott than I think anybody. And he's got good days and bad days, but if you can get his time down to the common and whatnot.
And he's seen all the differences.
Good dude.
In the city of Worcester. You know what I mean? I wrote with him. So, we changed this, we changed that. And I said, you see, I don't want to come downtown every day. It's a miss the beauty of the changes and things that are going on. The things that happen so rapidly around me. I don't want to get, I was thinking, you know, and I said it before.
Anyone heard anything about Joe Hart?
Legacy.
No.
Yeah, me neither.
We did the thing on undoing racism, you know, the social justice program on undoing racism, where we got into, you know, racism, you know, womenism, you know, and there's a whole course, and we took it for like 5 days of what this course was leading up to, and it doesn't seem like we had changed anything. At first, it seemed like, you know, now we're right back into that.
That's
that
awesome.
big hole right there. You know, that we just step right there and we can't take that foot that's stuck in the mud down there. You know, and there's a lot of things that you know, I'm gonna give it up. But I just want to say that I know I'm not gonna be around. I know I'm not. But keep on doing it.
Thank you. Okay.
Wow.
Do we have some? Sir, do you want to speak?
I don't like the way that sounds.
What's your name, your residence, and I remember?
Yeah, that was heavy.
That sounded like a man that made a decision.
Yeah.
Well, or that he understands the decision's been made for him. Either way, that was an extremely heavy comment. And no way around that one. Wow.
Yeah, and I was being serious too, Bill. If you can track him down and just let him speak his mind. He's got some great history in his head on
My name is
290.
Ron Hood,
Awesome. I will try to do that.
and I'd like to relate an issue. that
Oh my
I
God, he's
had
drooling.
with last
Oh
week
my God.
that is not on the
He's
agenda.
drooling so bad.
It's not what?
It is not on the agenda.
Okay, this will be the
The
last
issue
time. We'll
is
suspend the
that-
rules. Don't speak. All those in favor? Opposed, so ordered. Go ahead.
The issue is charter. I went there 3 times last week.
Oh.
When I went there Wednesday, I must have been there an hour and 10 minutes before I was even addressed.
What is going on?
And when I told the lady
They regret
that
for
claimed
suspending that,
she
I
was
imagine.
the supervisor, but she wasn't, that I wanted her to call the police so I could have a written investigation.
Oh man,
She refused.
that's awful.
On Thursday, I went back. It seems they'd like to change the rule or to add a caveat that's just a little different so you don't get what you expect. I learned that if you make an appointment, you go to the head of the line, regardless of how much someone else is waiting. So I made an appointment for Saturday at 2:20, and I arrived at 2:00, and sure enough, they started talking to me a few minutes after I get there. The phone I was
Oh,
given
Joe.
initially a few years ago.
Oh man, I would not want to be in Joe Petty's shoes right now.
This was given to me for your child. Oh, this is a new phone. It doesn't apply. If you want a new phone, it'll cost you $62 because you don't have insurance. I know I don't.
Say what you want. At least he is presenting a coherent argument, which is a lot better than what we're used to from some of our counselors.
And let's see if we can do anything. What I would expect.
And honestly, fuck charter, suck my dick is something you could run on and win.
Yes.
In Worcester city politics. No one likes charter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we do have 3 folks have raised their hand on the Zoom platform. The first speaker is Atel Catella. I'm going to try to unmute Cattell. Ms. Catella?
Catella.
Ms. Catella? Cannot hear from Ms. Catella. The next speaker is Jeff.
No,
I'm
even
gonna try
Nico
to
sounds
unmute Jeff.
bummed.
Is 815A for public comment?
I'm sorry. Can you please say your
Hi,
name and city of residence?
Jeff St. Laurent, Worcester, Mass. I was calling about 815A. Is that available for public comment?
Sure. 15A has been held, but as long as you don't want to speak next week, it's fine. You can do it tonight since you were waiting.
I'll speak next week. I didn't realize it was held. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mr. Mayor, the next speaker is Janet. I'm going to try to unmute Janet.
We
now.
really need to get rid of this practice of being able to hold things without knowing
can you
who
hear
held
us?
it.
Mhm.
It's annoying to just, I'm going to figure it out, but it's annoying.
There's a lot of feedback. Janet, can you hear us?
Okay, is that better?
It is. Yep.
Okay. My name is Janet Frazier, and I live in Worcester. I would like
Oh my God, 2.5 years of this.
Whole family sitting around. Mom's on the TV.
Yeah, mom's on the TV, turn it up. Mom's on the TV, turn it up.
I own a 3-decker. I've been owning a 3-decker for 22 years, and I've also provided affordable units in my neighborhood.
It sounds like an intro to a Godspeed song.
And it's our responsibility to put measures in place for all to be accountable at creating an affordable housing sample.
The wallets are filled with blood, and there is no driver at the
also
wheel.
be a part of this too. Affordable housing keeps my neighborhood strong and productive, It provides us with a voting voice. When families can be comfortable with the cost of housing, then their neighborhood becomes a comfort zone too.
I like that we're just letting it rock,
I
though.
know this has been my experience also as having homeownership, not only experiencing affordable housing myself, but also providing. I've become a voter. I sit on the board of directors for a community agency because my neighborhood became important to me because it was one less thing I needed to worry about.
Honestly, sounds like a Mad Lib
Where I
like
live
sample.
or how much it costs. This brings me here today. Affordable housing should always be an option. So please support implementing inclusionary zoning for the city of Worcester. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't. If she made sense, that's great. But I fucking
I think the last speaker
couldn't
is
make
Jane
out any of
Hiroshi.
that.
I just have a headache now.
Yeah. Mom's on the TV. Turn it up.
Jenny, can you hear us?
It's what every K-hole in Worcester sounds like.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We can't go ahead.
Okay. So my name
Oh,
is
it's Yenny.
I am located in Newton Square. I am calling about items 7X, 814A, and 11A. No, 11A has been held, but so I support 7X. You can clearly see where Worcester is when you look up at the night sky, where downtown Worcester is. And the IDSA's guidelines will not only be beneficial for Worcester and the wildlife of the surrounding area, but will also help reduce electricity usage by ensuring lighting isn't
We got you,
leaking up
Zanny.
into the sky unnecessarily. I support 814A and the initiatives and changes that it is looking to push. Changing our zoning to require affordability in our housing is a great step towards housing equity, and the city is long overdue for full review and many changes to our zoning laws. I look forward to this item being discussed further in committee. So I know 11A is held, but I want to thank Councillor Nguyen for submitting this resolution to support the trans community who are fleeing prosecution and harassment from their home states. Trans youth should be accepted for living their truth. They and their families need the safety and security that our state and others like ours can provide. One telling statistic from the Trevor Project shows that gender-affirming care for youth reduces the risk of suicide to a quarter of what it is before care. Transgender rights are civil rights, and I had hoped that the City Council would unanimously approve this resolution. But Councilor Calorio, by holding it, you are showing yourself to not be a supporter of trans rights for LGBT communities and of Worcester and nationwide. This has been passed by at least 12 other states. The State House and Senate are discussing this issue right now. And I know you're probably not aware of this, though others probably are, or perhaps you are and it's on purpose. But this issue is also going before the Democratic State Convention with votes due next Tuesday, making this extremely time sensitive. The support of Worcester's City Council prior to votes being due and prior to major decisions being made at the state level is very important, especially since we're the second largest city in New England with a very large LGBT population. Councillor Calorio's delay by holding this item is unacceptable and reprehensible. Worcester needs to stand by its trans community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker.
Mr. Mayor, I think that concludes public participation.
Okay. And this for
Yenny!
Council
Well done, Yenny. Thank you.
That was great.
The privilege.
That needed to be said. Very bad.
Okay. We'll do petitions 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D, and 7E to 7F, and 7G, 7R, and 7S, Hotel, 7W, which is set a hearing on June 7th, 2022 at 6:30. Council Russell?
Mr. Chairman, on 7K,
Yep.
I have no problem sending it to traffic and parking as it's listed, but I would also suggest that it's sent to the superintendent of schools so the school safety officer can know it's coming up and that they'll have notice of it and they can give us an opinion on it.
Okay. And so we'll take those items as amended 7K collectively. All those in favor? Opposed? So ordered. Then we have 7
I would love it if we replaced Donna with Yenny. I mean, honestly, that we just need one more good person.
So we did W,
on the
and
council.
we're on 7X.
The whole equation.
Amy Walsh, City Council requests.
Get rid of get rid of one awful person and replace it with one good person.
According to the guidelines of the International Dark Sky
we're
Association,
getting
describing the attached petition. We can send that to the city manager. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. We're on appointments.
I mean, replacing her with Yenny would be
A, B, and C,
fantastic, but I think we could all settle for
Communication
like
Officer,
a
appointment of Sarah
statue of a fry guy
Coulter
from
to the Elder
1980s
Affairs,
McDonald's
transmitting
Playland would be fine
Yeah,
too.
that would
Appointment
equal.
of
You know what?
Ivy
That would be
Coulter
fine.
To the Worcester Arts Council, and also
Still a net
transmission
positive.
communication of the appointment of James Carmody to constable. These are non-voting, so motion is to place.
Well,
on
another series of
file, so thank you
appointments,
for your
another
service.
snub
And
for old Bill here.
To file, all those in favor, opposed, so ordered.
You should just start managing trees on your own.
Recommend the appointment of Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Labby and the reappointment.
I'll just.
Millward and.
Oh, actually, funny story about that.
Advisory committee. And take that on a roll
No,
call.
never mind.
Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Caloria?
Yes.
Council G.A.?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Some things I'll keep to
Carlson?
myself.
Council Yen?
Yes.
Vera?
Yes.
Council Rose?
Yes.
Council Russell? Yes. Council Toomey?
Sean Rose just sounds like he hates his whole
Mayor
fucking
Petty.
life every time he talks.
Yes.
It's awesome. Even that yes was just like
3A through D, these
Yes.
advertised proposed ordinance for salary classifications and also for collective bargaining agreements. So we take those collectively. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Caloria?
Yes.
Council G.A.?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Council Merrill Carlson?
Yes.
Council Nguyen?
Yes.
Council Rivera?
Yes.
Council Rose?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey? And Mayor Petty.
Yes. We can do a reconsideration on those items. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
No.
Council Caloria?
No.
Council G.A.? Council King?
No.
Council Merrill Carlson?
No.
Council Nguyen?
No.
Council Rivera?
No.
Council Rose?
No.
Council Russell?
No.
Council Toomey? And Mayor Petty.
No. We have 8.4A, transmitting information communication of the inclusionary zoning. Council
All right.
Hagai, followed by Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I just want to start to thank the city manager for having the political will to bring this forward. I know that as someone who's done work in housing, has been close to those who have been doing work in housing for years, advocates have been looking.
Oh, Mo's gonna go
policy
full
for a
sewer
very,
mode on
very
this
long
one.
time. We never had the political will in previous administrations or previous city councils. I will passionately and fiercely support this policy, and I hope that this is the year that we actually implement it. I support the work of the Affordable Housing Coalition, starting with working with the city manager to allocate 20% of ARPA. And, you know, the inclusionary zoning, for those that don't understand, it's basically setting aside units at a certain level income for people that actually need it. I know that in the guidelines presented here tonight, you know, there's mention of 80% AMI. I would strongly recommend that we stick with the numbers provided by the Affordable Housing Coalition. These are folks that are doing work on the ground, they see the families that need this, and we should follow their lead and expertise. For those who are listening and don't know what 60% AMI is or below, or what area median income is, the easiest way to describe it, these are folks that are living in the margins. These are folks that are living with limited incomes. These are people that have children that are finding Worcester to be an extremely unaffordable city. In no way, shape, or form do I think inclusionary zoning resolves our homelessness issue or our housing affordability issue, but it does begin to put Worcester alongside other municipalities who have had this policy for a really long time and have reaped the benefits of real estate developments in Worcester. According to some numbers that I've heard and my own calculations, just following the work of the administration, I think
she
it's
gets
fair to
better
say
and
that we've
better
had a
every time
saturation
she
of market rate units,
talks on it.
especially an absence of family-sized units. And why that's important is that you heard the statistics of 75% of our renters, who, by the way, happen to be the most vulnerable to pandemics, to health, to limited income, to opportunities to move up the mobility path
as we have seen council members over and over repeat that we need homeownership opportunities. This is the group that is most vulnerable. This is the group that we need to support. For me, inclusionary zoning is not just creating one unit here, one unit there, and we're done. It's a policy that makes it clear to developers that they have to do their part, just like our families struggling today are doing their best to find housing that is not substandard. The last thing that I would say is, we hear, this is a question that I was asked during the election. Do you think that we have enough subsidized housing in the city? And should we have subsidized housing in the city? So I'll answer that ridiculous question with the following. We need to really make sure that we are thinking around where housing is located. I am sick and tired of having to always see housing concentrated in areas of the city that lack opportunities and social mobility. Inclusionary zoning will make sure that in some minimal capacity that we're opening opportunities for families to move from areas of low wealth and opportunities to areas like in my district of high opportunities. And lastly, I will say, it is my hope and my advocacy that we think beyond inclusionary zoning. There are other alternative ways that we can provide housing opportunities for people, beyond tenant protections, beyond making sure that we have a rental registry. It is the ability for us to increase opportunities for families to move in areas of the city that are of high opportunity and mobility. We can do that with inclusionary zoning. We can do that by advocating for co-ops. We can do that by thinking outside the box. The Worcester Now, Worcester Next, last thing that I will say is that the Worcester Now, Worcester Next plan will look at a revamp of zoning. We should look at that as an opportunity to bring forward ideas that haven't been tested before, ideas that are controversial, like abolishing single-family zoning. It is only then that Worcester will become a city for all people. Thank you.
Wow, she said it.
Council King.
Well done.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Mr.
shared this
Chairman.
with you folks. This just crossed my desk last week. I was shocked to see these numbers this year. So this is what Worcester Housing Authority will pay out for subsidized units
I've met with
for
Peter Dunn on this and some of
2022.
the other
So
folks
I mean, like a
in the community.
three-bedroom
And it
apartment,
really started a
1843.
dialogue as relates
That's
to inclusionary
what they
zoning
consider the value
with the city
for
manager,
subsidized
back
housing.
in 2018 or 2019.
Which is just wild. I mean, if you bought
and I
if
think
you bought a
clearly,
house in
Mr.
Worcester
Chairman,
10
at
years
least a couple
ago
of times a
and
year,
had a
have those
monthly
very
mortgage payment of
conversations,
nearly
with the city
$1,900, like
manager. I've advocated for
you're living off of
inclusionary
Salisbury
zoning
Street.
Yeah,
publicly
right.
and privately.
And it's like
in
an
the
out of
community and
control
amongst
problem.
elected officials. I think
But this is where the
what a
problem, to
little
me,
bit
like
of
this
this
is part of where the
means
problem gets
is
weird, right?
that,
Because it's
as
similar to what's going
mentioned,
on or
the
has been
political
going on for
will
decades
is
with
changing here in the
tuition
city of
rates,
Worcester.
right? Like government says they're
When
willing
I
to
first
pay
discussed this with the city
a
manager, we
ceiling,
explored
that's going to be the floor
whether or not we
immediately
could
because
send
nobody's
this
going to
the
say
Worcester
no to
Research
free money.
Bureau, for
Yeah.
further
That's true. Yeah. Huh.
research
That's fucking.
and things of
that's
that
wild.
nature in order to present a really tightened package to the council. At the time, the dialogue that I had was because I knew the votes would be difficult in those years. And as I mentioned, times have changed. I know conversations I've had with my newest colleagues on the council have been about this very issue. It's a number one priority of mine. It's been a number one priority of mine for a few years, and here we are. I want to say that with regards to how housing uplifts people, when you think about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's really food, shelter, and clothing. Food, shelter, clothing, and then you can access resources. Then you can lift yourselves up. And as we discussed previously, Mr. Chairman, we talked about the new Worcester Housing Authority developments over at Greater Brook Valley. We need to have this sort of zoning and inclusionary
Wait, what's
zoning
that? What is the link here?
in all
Andy?
neighborhoods for single families, for multi-families, for mixed use and the like. And I think we really need to begin to target the 60% AMI. We've done a tremendous job here of adding apartments and opportunities for workforce housing, some affordable housing, luxury housing, and the like. But when you talk to
These
our
comments are
constituents, you'll
wild.
hear repeatedly that folks are moving outside of the city. Folks who owned homes, folks who have lived here for 30, 40 years, folks who are being displaced out of their homes due to increases of rents of $600 and $800 a month. This is long needed. And in terms of health equity, what we heard earlier, and racial equity, this is certainly will even things out to a degree. And I agree that it's a tool, Mr. Chairman. If we do this right, it's a tool. And some of the concerns I've heard in the past is about, well, it'll scare developers away.
Kenny, when was that renters,
landlords
landlords forum?
was
And is
around
there a video of it?
mandated inclusionary zoning versus incentives. And all of that, I think we can work through in the hearing in economic development. I think that certainly what folks need to understand is that there are options. You can increase how many units you have.
Oh, okay. All right.
To offset.
I thought there was
On
like
the other
a
hand, you
in-person
can,
forum.
Have parking
I had a vision of you
options
just like
or parking
being like,
requirements.
I try to charge an affordable rent, and everyone's like, stupid, boo.
And I'm glad that we're here. I'm very glad that we're here. I wanted to just ask a quick question through the chair to the administration as it relates to incentives. My kind of base understanding of this is, for example, say you had 20 units and we said, hey, 20% is mandatory.
My computer won't let me open
one of the
both
options could
streams
be,
at the same time.
based on some of the other
what are they, just like
towns and cities that do
talking
this,
shit
that
about
you have 20 or
people
so
that I'm
you,
like,
and 20% you could do
on the other stream, the
additional
racist
to go to 22
city council
if you're a
stream.
developer.
The comments
or
are just
18
gross.
with the two, and you could look at waiving
Typical,
the,
but gross.
Yeah.
the footage or
you know what they say,
parking.
Worcester
You
Council
could talk
Theater
a little bit about
3000, the only
incentives.
stream of the
And
city
lastly,
council
before you
meeting
answer
that is
question
not
to the
populated by
administration,
pedophiles.
I certainly support that if we're going with the mandatory and some incentives, that we look to take those monies that developers will give us.
Oh, you can just show
as
it
a way
right
to
there.
Infuse our affordable housing trust fund. We have monies in there.
Oh,
now
that's
for
a
what have
very
you.
interesting
There's
new
no
element
funding
to this whole
mechanism. We have
thing.
community president.
That's a fucking that kind of changes the game.
Types
We're
of
getting
things
a little
for,
meta here.
but if you could speak to those two
Oh my
things, through the chair.
god,
Mr. Dunn.
she thinks she
Sure,
is
thank you. Through the chair
AOC
to
of
the
Worcester. Dude, these
counselor,
people aren't
so
even fucking
incentives, or in
good
some
at
cases,
being,
the
like,
way this looks in different communities around the
shitty,
Commonwealth
yeah?
and certainly around the country as well.
funnier.
Sometimes the term density bonus is used. And so it's a very popular element of inclusionary zoning policy. And
Hey,
so
some
what
40
we've,
done.
kind of arrived at in terms of our review of that and use of that tool across the Commonwealth in particular is that it certainly has a stronger effect in smaller towns that have a lot of restrictions around density in their zoning districts. And so we feel like based on the existing parameters of our zoning ordinance, I don't think it will have as much utility in terms of that level of incentive because we do provide a good amount of density allowance in the city of Worcester, but going to study that further. But to your point on kind of other incentives, that's why we've kind of characterized this in the memo as incentives rather than just density bonus, is that we do feel like there could be more effectiveness in terms of looking at other parameters of our zoning districts, like required off-street parking.
There's something
or
interesting
other
happening in the
dimensional
background.
requirements
Candy
that
just
can
came
sometimes
over
be
and whispered
challenging.
into
So we think that
Nicole
there's definitely a
Valentine's
role
ear,
for that kind of
and now she and
incentive-based,
Eric look really
element to
nervous
play
looking at the
in
door.
the zoning ordinance, but we want to study it a little bit further, and it might have a little bit of a different sort of flavor than just a density
Oh
bonus.
yeah, they keep looking over there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're in the next 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you look at
Good
some
catch.
of the initial
Oh, boy.
suggestions for the city of Worcester,
We really need to have a an in the room
look at the
correspondent
payment in lieu of options.
for
speak
certain. There's
very
been certain
quickly to
times where that would
through
be
the chair?
extremely necessary.
Sure, through the chair to the counselor again.
Like if you could just
as we
switch
try to
from like
characterize in the
this
memo,
live
like,
stream
the
to somebody's
inclusionary
live stream
zoning
on their
doesn't
cell
look
phone.
the same across
Exactly.
different
That'd
communities,
be
and there's
awesome.
a lot of different sort of common parameters that you might see or common elements that you might see. And so a payment in lieu of option is one of those options that you see often in different
Hey,
communities.
we just get a shout out
And
on
so
the,
we've given a
the other
table
feed.
of some of the existing communities in Massachusetts and whether or not they have that option or not, to give you a sense of like, how many are including that option in their community. And so we feel like, and again, we'll have a more detailed discussion at the committee, but we
People
feel
are
like
moving out of
having that
Worcester because they
payment in
take
lieu
big
option
doo-doos in their
for
asses all the
Worcester
time.
is the right direction to go in as
It's
we
starting to
start
stink.
craft what this looks like, for a couple of reasons. One, when you're just getting this started and seeing how the market responds to such an ordinance,
I
it's
get
helpful
that
to
it's
have,
probably because
a
Ray
degree of
Mariano will write
flexibility
for
so that
free,
developers
and they can't
have those
actually
different
afford a
options at
columnist
their
at the Telegram
disposal.
anymore. But
And then for
goddamn,
a
he's one of the
second
worst
reason,
columnists I've ever
as you
seen.
mentioned with the Affordable Housing
Absolutely
Trust
terrible.
Fund, it's great
He's
that
like,
we've been able
oh
to
wow,
capitalize that
it's
initially
just,
with American
it's
Rescue
so
Plan
fucking
dollars,
stupid,
but
dude.
as we all know,
Lazy.
those dollars
Lazy
have a
too, that's
timeline
the best of it.
associated with them. And where we don't have a lot of other revenue streams right now coming into that trust fund, we feel like having this payment in lieu option will be yet another potential revenue stream so that we can grow that fund and recapitalize that fund into the future.
Thank you. What I would like to see in committee is some of the draft ordinances from other places. I know that attached to this, you have some information that's somewhat relevant to that. I know that part of the process in committee will be to gather the responses from stakeholders as it relates to all this and come with a draft. I think what would be helpful for me as a counselor would also be to have some of the current ordinances and zoning that's in place in perhaps Boston and places like that. I'd like to do that by way of an order to request that we get those from the administration. This absolutely should be a priority. I'd like to see this come through our committee on economic development that's chaired by my colleague to my left. And this is really going to be a difference maker. It's not the final solution. I think you think about group ownership, but the impact that we're going to have, Mr. Chairman, through the city, and I'm going to ask the administration this very quickly. My understanding is that when we talk about mixed housing and the impact it has on education, economic development, culture, that is significant.
There's a lot of
We
whispering
have,
going on right now.
different people in different places. So it's asking to the administration is what was the thought process on that aspect of conclusionary zoning through the chair.
Mr. Manager.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I think if you look at parts of the city where we do have that mixture of different incomes, different types of housing, we have very strong, vibrant neighborhoods where you tend to have clustering of a particular type of housing. You don't always have that strong kind of neighborhood, that mixed neighborhood. So I think where we see it, we know that it's a beneficial component, not only to the quality of life of those residents, but the city as a whole. And so to the extent that we can encourage it and promote it and help bring it about in more parts of our community, I think we strengthen our neighborhoods and we strengthen the community as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to again thank the administration for the work of Mr. Dunn and his folks.
That was a
and
really,
Mr.
really
Manager.
empty little
But also
fucking thing.
be remiss not to thank the
is my
Worcester
AC
Strong
loud?
Together Housing Advocacy
I can
Group,
just shut it off. It's not that hot.
Worcester Common Ground, and all those folks for their continued advocacy. I've had many discussions about this, and it's going to make a real difference, Mr. Chairman. And I look forward to voting this. And as I mentioned, a year ago this time, this would not have moved on this council. And I'm quite confident that we will have an inclusionary zoning ordinance in short order. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the last few months, we've talked in this chamber about urgency around affordable housing. I recall the city manager at one point standing up and saying, we're going to exhaust every possible resource that we have in an effort to improve our affordable housing stock. And he is certainly putting his money where his mouth is here with this proposed ordinance. I'd like to thank him and our Chief Development Officer, Peter Dunn, for bringing this forward. I'd like to also thank Council Haji, who during the campaign season kept bringing up inclusionary zoning over and over again to a point where I had to do some pretty aggressive homework on it, and ended up spending time with our chief development officer. And I think I ended up one night writing down 3 pages of notes on it, doing my homework on it. So I certainly look forward to getting to work on this committee. I look forward to taking the lead on getting this done and moving it forward. And I'm super thankful that we're at a place right now where we can start having these type of discussions around affordable housing and improving the housing stock for our city, which is obviously a big part of economic development. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera.
Oh boy.
Yes, so I'm really excited to be able to see this moving forward. You know, we've had so many conversations on this council regarding affordable housing, and one of the things that I think this is really important is about
Fact check on that.
the stigma around affordable housing. Hardworking people that just cannot afford to live with dignity. Praying to slumlords, absentee landlords, and just really having to make decisions. Do I pay rent? Do I purchase food? Am I able to buy necessary clothing for my children? And I think, you know, for far too long, when we had conversations of affordable housing, it was about thinking kind of this whole stigma of like whatever people that needed affordable housing looked like. And I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because it really
rent control is just never going to happen
stigma
in Massachusetts. It's
when we talk about also, you know, we've talked a lot in this council regarding home ownership. And one of the concerns that I've seen that I know several people that have wanted to purchase here and just cannot afford it and have had to go to neighboring towns. One of the issues regarding neighboring towns is people needing transportation to get to and from work, needing transportation to get to and from proper health care, which is an issue, especially when you look at marginalized community, being able to access adequate health care, basic needs.
Everything Maura Healey said about housing since she started her campaign has been so hilariously bad.
Areas where they can get fresh produce.
It's like she's
a
just
number of different issues, and that has been an issue as well. I know that I've had this discussion, and I know that I can't speak for Councilmember Carlson, but I know that we mentioned this here on the oversaturation of in certain neighborhoods and certain districts. Is problematic. And the issue of, you know, the reality is that we've done for years, there's been a level of segregation. Let's call it what it is, segregation because of class and race. And so if you're poor, or if you are from marginalized communities of Black and brown communities, you are going to just look at, this is why some of these areas of the projects, right? The projects and what people call certain areas. And then those are stipulated as bad neighborhoods. Well, what really makes bad neighborhoods? This is, you know, again, problematic. I think this would help begin.
What a confusing argument.
These issues regarding, I've been having this discussion regarding how do we continue to combat the way that we have still segregation. You know, it's sad, but it's a reality. This affects neighborhoods. This affects communities. This affects families, individuals, just wanting to have a good quality of life. We talk about inclusivity here in the city of Worcester. We're an inclusive city. We're a welcoming city. We're the heartbeat of the Commonwealth. We want to make sure that the heartbeat beats for all people. Removing stigma and increasing our affordability for people to live in a dignified way will be helpful. This is, again, a tool in the toolbox. I
wish I knew Parks and Rec writers. They would fucking
continue to keep
people. They would borrow so much from Sarai.
For example, some of the companies that we were bringing into SWIP was that people
she just fucking wings it, man. Like
work. So we don't have the most reliable RTA system, and
I think she's in favor of it. But she also did say something pretty worrying about affordable housing being concentrated in
having the workforce that we have here in the city of Worcester.
not an amazing way.
I want to really thank the coalition that has.
But then
really
she said,
stayed
then
at-
she's
that has come to the
rightly
table
pointed
and
out
has
the
stayed at the
segregationist
table.
aspect of it. So I don't know
And
what she was
has
at.
really mobilized for much needed policy change. And I really want to also give credit to Councilor Hajiai, who's also has been part, even prior to joining council, has been part of the Worcester Together and the Housing Coalition. And I know she made a commitment during her time to come into public office, as she's very passionate about housing. And I really appreciate her staying at the table.
Yeah, right.
And really,
Also,
pressing through at the table and
something
bringing,
very
and
confusing
really
about the way that
advocating
she's
for this
thinking
in
about this.
council.
Not that
I'm
it matters at
excited
all.
to see, and again, I don't think anyone's saying this is the
If you're going to
say
try to
all, be all,
detangle it,
but it's definitely a tool in the toolbox of something that we really need to look at.
can we
along with,
retire that
like, our
phrase, tool in
neighboring
the toolbox?
towns, the reality is that
Ed's
neighboring
gift to
towns will
Worcester has
say,
had-
"Oh,
has
go
everyone
apply in
saying that
Worcester,
shit.
go look in Worcester."
What toolbox?
That's not
What
fair
are
to
you-
us.
what are you
So
talking
we need to begin to look at how we have those conversations with our state delegation. But I think this continues. Not only will this provide dignified living and housing for hardworking individuals and for families and for all people that, we said, it's really nice to be able to kind of, you ever have like a really cold day and you just, have a long day and you get to kind of snuggle up in bed, and you just like,
Shut up!
It's
What
like,
the fuck is this?
Take a
everything
picture of
feels
your
good in
feet
the
for
world at that
Instagram,
moment,
and
right?
it's just a special kind of day.
Whatever you drink, coffee, tea, whatever
What
it is. And like,
the fuck
think about
is
that not
this?
everyone has that ability, and some people are,
Ugh.
having to choose, do I pay rent? Do I pay food? Do I pay my utilities? It's really a hard struggle. And it's time that we humanize and not politicize these issues as much as we have. And I think this inclusionary
I don't know who
zoning
William
will
Shea
help
is.
to humanize
Am
once
I
again
exposing myself as a
what is the
Rubio?
God-given right for all people.
It's just something that Yenny's been going back and forth with on the
Again,
Facebook
it's not
comments.
easy.
Oh, okay. I thought this was a person that like mattered in any way.
And I think it's going to open up, continue to allow spaces. If I have more
There was like some
conversations
city
over
political person
saturation
that I
and
didn't know.
segregation between class and race that continues to exist, and not only here in
Oh yeah,
city,
fuck
but
William Shea.
throughout our nation.
You're well in your
Thank you.
next 5. Perfect.
You're
Thank
well
you.
into your next 5.
So we'll send that to EDF to.
You had to talk about how
hear
fucking-
from Council Russell.
If
Merrill
you can't
Council.
afford housing, that means you
Councilman
can't
Webb.
even have a nice cup of coffee. What the fuck?
Mr. Chairman, I
No idea what you're talking
will
about.
disclose
Shut up.
probably for the 100th time I'm a real estate agent. And I'll say that again just for the record. I know as I look around the room tonight, I hear my friend on the other side of the chamber talk so much about social workers, and he's a social worker. I know he doesn't have to disclose that. I hear other folks that are involved in other agencies that are working in other things that are also talking about policies that this city should have. So I think I'm safe in getting up and just saying, hey, I'm in the real estate
Yeah, my
business,
name's
so
George
I
Russell, and I
say that
I
ahead
need to
of time and
disclose that I
take a chance
work
on
at the dick
somebody
sucking
saying that I shouldn't
factory.
be talking or I should be running out of the room and excusing myself.
I other people who don't work at the dick sucking
So,
factory
Mr. Chairman,
don't have to say where they work.
I would request the city administration
Not
to give
old
us
me.
a study, to actually put somebody on this, to give us a list of homes that have been sold in the city of Worcester over the last year. And of those homes, who has bought them? Have they been owner occupants or have they been investors? Have they been investors from Worcester or have they been investors from outside the area? Investors that are coming in and looking at the city of Worcester as pure dollar signs. Looking at the city of Worcester is just a way to make a buck and to make a big buck at that.
Like
And
you
I
did
would
for
encourage
30
our
years, George.
administration to
And now you're
really
kind
do
of
the
getting pushed
homework
out of the
on
game.
that and to put that information in front of us so this council knows what this market is doing. Because I see it every day. And I see it in my business. I see it in the community. And I
Yes,
think I have
and
a handle
what's
on
the
it.
fucking
But I
argument
may
here?
be
What are you
even
asking
wrong.
for?
But I'd like to know.
Well, it's a protectionist
And when I
argument.
hear folks,
He
and
wants
I've been a
more room at
realtor
the
for
trough.
probably 30 years or more, almost 40 years now. And when I hear folks talk about discrimination, I'll tell you, there's no discrimination in that board of realtors in Worcester. Not that I know of. If there is, please tell me about it, because I'll go to the board and file a complaint about anyone
Come
that
on,
is
dude.
discriminating. Because
Can you even just
but
try
what
to
is
understand this
discriminating
issue,
and what
like,
is
even a
making
little
an
bit?
impact is this
Fuck off.
marketplace. And what's making an impact is because people that are financing a home, people with a low down payment, people with no down payment, are virtually impossible for them to buy in this marketplace. People that want to buy a home, especially single family homes, are going out in the open marketplace right now, and they're putting 30, 40, 50,000 above asking price, and they're being told no. And in the case of multifamily homes, they're putting even more than that on, and they're being told no because there's cash buyers, many are from out of town, who are coming in here, and the first thing they do after the closing is raise everybody's rent.
Yeah,
And
I mean, this is all valid,
that's the story if you want to deal with housing. That's the story that's going on in this city, and that's the story that this administration and the next administration has to deal with. To do
Yes,
those numbers,
and
let's see who the people are, see where they came from. You know, years ago, I remember.
What are you going to do about it?
He's going to build a wall.
Club, but I remember a friend of mine inviting me to go to a Kiwanis Club and to be the guest speaker. And I said, what am I going to talk about? And this was probably 20 years ago.
This is obviously an argument against
I was looking
inclusionary
for something
zoning.
to talk about. What I did was I went back to my
What's the
deposits
what
in
are
my
you
real
proposing
estate
instead?
office, and I just took a list of all the towns on the checks of the people
Incredible.
that made deposits.
It's fucking
to
pathetic.
see
These people
who
are
was
all
buying Worcester. Was it
so
Worcester residents, or were they people from outside the city? And it was a very interesting. I saw that happening years ago, and I'm saying right now it's happening to the negative. Mr. Chairman, I have one question though. What does this do for single-family existing homes now? Single-family existing residential neighborhoods, through you to the administration and Mr. Dunn.
Mr. Dunn?
Through the chair to the counselor, my expectation on that would be nothing. And so if you read it, most communities and what we've suggested might be the right fit for Worcester would be that this would apply to the net production of units of a certain size. So we've suggested that potentially 12 units or more might be the right fit for Worcester. Some communities have 8, 10. So to your point, my expectation is that it would have no effect.
And I would say, Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Dunn, I wouldn't have any problem with it. I would think it might be a good idea if somebody's coming in to do a subdivision and to start anew to try to get some of these policies on board in that. But to go into a single-family neighborhood where someone just sold their multifamily home, moved to a single-family house, and to tell them things are going to change wouldn't be right. And I'm happy that this policy doesn't do that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
What was that whole rant about then?
Councilmember Carlson?
Well, we can't just come out and say redlining anymore, Bill. We got to be creative
Mr.
about it.
Chairman, this
There's no
council
discrimination in the Board of
for a very
Realtors, but
long
maybe in
time
the banks.
has been talking about affordable housing. This isn't new in this term.
Shut up,
This
Andy.
is something that has been, and we know as a city, the city manager knows that we've been in crisis mode in terms of affordable housing. So it's something that certainly has been a priority. It's something that it's great to see this finally hit the council here tonight. But I just want to stand here and say to, my colleague, Councilor Rivera, talking about a saturation. And when we talk about doing something like this, my hope is that this is throughout this city. Because when we talk about doing this, this should be, this entire city should be in this, because I think it's important, as my colleague here also said, it's not that we should be, and quite frankly, Councilor Rivera and myself, we know what saturation is. And we know when you turn around and you take people and you continue to put them in the same area so that they can never lift themselves up. Nobody knows that better in this council than Councilor Sarai Rivera and myself.
The solution
because
you're
I'll
arguing
tell you
for
what,
is that you
both of
spread
us can give you
low-income housing around the
statistics
city.
on everything that happens
You don't
in
care.
this
You
city.
don't want it
Why
around
is
you.
that? Because our district has it all. Has it all. We know better than, with all due respect, we know better than the rest of my colleagues because of the locations and the people who we represent. There is nothing that I welcome more than this. So to hear somebody say that this council prior to this past election was not on board with this is a very, very, very false statement. Because I know, for one, in terms of housing, I've led my life and my career, as well as my husband, who grew up in the housing authority, and my entire family was in the housing authority projects
No
for their
fucking need
life.
for this.
Nobody needs to
Nope.
tell me
It didn't fucking happen,
about
Candy.
what it's like and where people live.
She
So I,
gets
for one,
so
am
fucking catty
somebody
sometimes.
who welcomes
But this is the same.
finally hit
This is the same line that Ray Mariano uses
time is
historically,
right and
right?
we
That
can do
they grew up in
something and we can
Gripbrook
make a
Valley or
difference in a
Plumley
lot of
Village,
people's lives.
but they leave
Thank
out
you.
the part where, at the time, public housing existed as staging
Nguyen.
for returning veterans before they were built and
Yes,
given a
I'll
free
be
house
brief.
elsewhere
I
in
would
the
say,
city.
one, I'm very
It's
grateful
not
to
the
the
same story
administration
for
and the
somebody
folks
who
who
just
spoke before
got here from
me. I
Haiti
fully
because there's a
support
civil war going on and they have
doing
nowhere else to
inclusionary
go.
zoning. I think this is
They're
one of the
stuck.
moments
You
where
obviously
I'm
weren't.
very, very
Yeah.
grateful
You
of,
grew up when there was a
years
social safety
of
net.
this building to this
Come on
moment
now.
where I am on the council, and this is something that is put forth by so many people who care about this issue. And I think everyone on this council knows and has spoken about the housing crisis and needing affordable housing. And I also think about, how we are in a Worcester Renaissance and how, for me, I am not against development.
Do not
I think
insult
we
Ayn
need
Rand.
development. And so
by
this is one of the moments
trying
where I'm like,
to
yes, this is
apply
exactly
that
the development
however
that we
problematic
need moving
context
forward,
and
especially
intellectual framework
for
to
me,
a Canadian rock house.
a Worcester Renaissance
She
has
is
to
much,
include
much
Worcester
better than that.
residents. And so I'm really grateful for it. And I'm thinking about, the affordable housing, the socioeconomic
Seriously, Jack's gonna get
mobility,
hurt over
and
there.
prioritizing family size.
I haven't been
housing,
watching the comments at
for
all.
this. And
I
also,
love it, though.
just as a young person, I want to just bring up something that haven't been shared is that, a lot of young folks are really worried about our futures. Where are we going to live? Do we, graduate from college and just move back to our parents? We're thinking about a future in Worcester that people actually, as Councilor Rivera mentioned, like a dignified life. And I think, as we think about building up Worcester and
Yeah,
uplifting
we need
our
to send Jack to the
residents,
farm
this
leagues
is one of the
over in
things that
the
make me feel
over in
very
the
proud
C-suite
and
before you come
hopeful
back.
in Worcester to think about a future where people are included, where we could think about spaces for people to really build together.
The comments
And
over
so
there
I
really
just
are
wanted to
hilarious,
briefly
though.
bring that up, and thank you everyone
What do you
for
got
being
here?
so
Do
supportive.
you get
of
off
this.
misgendering people, or are you just
Council Nguyen. Council King.
she speaks. Wow, what a fucking
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, we love
I
it.
certainly support and welcome this as well. One thing I would ask, and I think you want to talk about people being able to access building equity for their future. I would like to see some opportunity for condo development as well, because that is an entry for folks. And I've talked on this floor a number of times about a rent-to-own program, a sweat equity program, and that will also enable people to be able to get in the bottom ground for their own housing. I think it's incredibly important that we take a fresh look at this issue throughout the city, and I'm really grateful that this is inclusive of the entire city. So I support this 100%.
Except
RSD
RSD one.
ED would probably do so. Council King, you have 2 minutes.
Probably be less, Mr. Chairman. Just really quickly for the public that's watching, just a reminder, Worcester has been named one of the top 10 hottest markets for housing in these United States, Mr. Chairman. And just as a final comment, when you think about inclusionary zoning, there's only so much state funding, there's only so much federal funding, even with ARPA, even with the resources that have been provided through the pandemic, that we can provide to developers. This is an opportunity for the private sector to do their fair share and help lift people up. And I think that's always important to remember when you're thinking about inclusionary zoning. It doesn't mean that state or federal municipal support for housing and HUD and all that other stuff is going away. This is just a requirement or a mandate that the private sector will do their part to provide low-income housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hajai.
Yeah, just have a quick question through the chair to Mr. Dunn, if possible.
Mr. Dunn.
Mr. Dunn.
It's my understanding through the chair that this has a provision for sale units.
Through the chair to the counselor, that's one of the elements that can look differently in different communities. And so, some will have it apply to just rental, others will be rental and for sale. I think it relates to Councilor Russell's point earlier, though, that it would have to be something like a condo development, like Councilor Toomey said, because again, this is usually applied to projects where the net production of the number of units is at a certain threshold. So it wouldn't likely apply to just, a single family lot that a single family home is built on. But if somebody was doing a subdivision or maybe something like a condo development, it could apply to for sale as well. It would be our recommendation to include both for sale and for rent. But again, we're going to have a more detailed discussion about that at the committee with, participation from the community as well.
Great, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. So I'm going to send that to Economic Development. I look forward to a good discussion there. There are a lot of good comments made tonight, and it's a good report. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Whoever thought Worcester would become unaffordable, if you really think about a few years back, but it's getting
Who would ever thunk it?
I'm looking forward to the really good product that come out of economic development and that everybody can be happy with. So thank you, Mr. Dunn, too, for the report. So send that to ED. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. If people just want to bear with me for 1 second, Mr. Leary's in the audience from UMass. Maybe we can do his item right here. This is 12A. Recommend approval, report of the planning board upon the petition of Sergio Melgar, Executive Vice President, CFO of UMass Memorial Healthcare, requests the zoning map be amended by revising the zoning designation of parcel land known as and located at 378 Plantation Street from RL7 to IN-H in its entirety. So the first thing we have to do here is to go into ordinance. So we're going to read the city council meeting. I'm going to take a vote that we go into ordinance. Then from there, we can make a recommendation for approval. Then from there, we'll reconvene in city council. Councilor Russell.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out if I need to recuse myself.
Okay, we'll do that one first. Okay.
I just want to disclose that I'm going to be getting on the board of UMass, but Harrington and Southbridge not here, so I don't know if that's conflictual. If I
don't know
may
the
need to
answer to
recuse
that. You
myself.
disclosed it publicly, so I think you're okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Is Mr. Trainer there? Oh.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
What do you want to do here? What's your recommendation? Do you hear Councilor Rivera?
I think I would err on the side of caution and recuse.
Okay. Councilor Rivera has recused.
I think
himself
Mike's
for the
naked in
record.
his office.
Councilor Russell?
Mr. Chairman, I have no problem with this item. I'm just wondering what the process is, because I don't remember ever doing this before. Didn't we always send these to ED?
Yeah, I think
And not to Martin? I've been here for 10 years. I don't remember.
It's about 10 or
ever
11 years
having an
ago.
ordinance committee.
Yeah. We've done
That's
it
all.
once, twice.
I'm in full support of the item and have no problem doing anything we can to expedite it. I just don't understand. the process.
To the chair, to the council, so I know the solicitor's on the line as well. Council, for the sake of time, I think we haven't had, I think, in 10 years, and I have the solicitor on as well. So we clarify with the solicitor what we can do is the council can recess into the ordinance committee, take a vote, and then come back to the council to report it out.
I think he's asking, is this in the rush, or Mr. Leary, or he might succumb because just to give an explanation.
What's this one? Sorry.
Mr. Leary. Jim.
Rezoning for a parcel over by UMass.
The reason we were asking for it to be expedited is the time.
I love how this is fucking boring shit, but like I love how everyone
So in order for
just
us to apply
was like
to the state for
positioning themselves like they were mad, even though they were in full support of the inclusionary zoning proposal. And it's just because they have these like petty little beefs, and the progressives like so they like were contorting themselves to like try to find something bad to say about it without actually arguing.
There's two processes. One way we just recommend it, or we can send it to
be mad,
the Economic Development Committee. But I think, I mean,
Maybe if the chair of ED knows he can do it quicker, whatever.
Yeah, Councilor Rose.
Whatever.
whatever. Well, whatever.
Robert's
I'll
rules.
just be sausages and apples and audience from Bell.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor
Chairman.
King, Councilor Carlson.
I would just say that if we can expedite this and do this tonight and not have it go through the Economic Development Committee, I would be super appreciative.
If we could just
A number of us
expedite this,
work or
because
have
I'm trying to
worked
get a
in the
job
mental
there,
health
and this
industry,
will really
there's an
help me.
absolute crisis right now. We have our young people.
Or no
we
interest in
heard it
holding another
earlier,
meeting.
From Dr. Castilla.
A very
and
busy
others
summer.
About the mental health crisis, concerns over that. We have young people waiting in emergency rooms, waiting to be evaluated by psychiatrists. Some that need to be kept safe, that aren't being kept safe, that are unfortunately being sent home and having recurring issues and re-traumatizing themselves. I don't want our bureaucracy to get in the way of us moving something forward that is so needy and in desperate need for us at this time. So if possible, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move this forward here and now as the way to get the ball rolling with our friends.
I think we've lost Jack.
And addressing
Yeah,
this
Jack just
really,
likes it better. You know what? That's fine.
issue at this time. Thank
He's
you.
in a better place.
It's
Thank
like
you,
that we
Mr.
have the
Chairman.
comments
I
going up,
too
and we're
would
just
like
letting
to
all the chaos
expedite
happen in
this,
there, and we're all just sitting
as
back like,
referenced. This will save lives. The sooner we get to this, the better. Each and every day. we
it
have
would be really
folks
sick if we
backed
could
up,
convince the
and when
city.
they board in these
have
hospitals,
the
Mr.
stream they put on
Chairman,
Facebook.
sometimes in
It would never happen,
alone,
but it would be so cool to get
alone
all
for
those
days
like,
and weeks with sort
like
of check-ins and perhaps a one-on-one.
conservative guys in
And
here.
some of our youth
We'd be
and
having a blast.
our youth
Oh, we'd be having
end
a
up
blast.
in the emergency rooms for days and weeks. And as I mentioned previously in the budget hearing, sometimes for months. I support expediting this. I'm a second member as vice chair of economic development. And I certainly support us doing this right now. Thank you.
Councilor Carlson.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Council Bergman.
Bergman,
was ahead of me.
Councilor Bergman.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly am not going to oppose doing it the way you want to do it. I will say, you know, I've been on the council 9 years too. We've never done it this way. And, you know, we talk about process. A lot of people talk about process. If we're going to do it this way, I think going forward, our clerk should make every effort to make sure that whoever else is bringing something forward also does not have an expedited issue. Because if we don't give everybody the same option we're doing tonight, and I have no issue doing it tonight because I think the justification is fine. But I think that certainly makes the process seem a little less than it should be. So again, I'm going to support it, but only support if we get a commitment from our clerk that everybody that petitions for a similar item going forward, you know, is asked whether or not it needs to go in an expeditious manner, because otherwise, in the process is flawed, regardless of what the merits are. Thank you.
Councilor Carlson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask through the chair to Mr. Leary, what's the time frame of the opening of this facility?
Mr. Leary.
It's essentially it's a rough estimate, but we're probably looking at a couple of years.
Yeah, right.
For the ultimate opening, but it depends upon how quickly we get approval for the determination of need. That process we expect will be roughly a 6 to 9 month process to get that state approval before we can begin.
We really care about
really
process when we
renovation of
use
the
it to be a
existing
dickhead.
facility. So what we're trying to do
but
by getting this
and,
expeditiously
you know,
is to
trying
be able to
actually do it.
apply for the DON as quickly as possible and thereby hopefully save some
So-
months in the
18
process.
I
kids.
think as people know, this is in my district. I think that it would be helpful for you to share with the council the reason why you think it needs to be expedited tonight. I think everybody's supportive of it, but people are trying to figure out why is this any different than any other item that comes before us? And
Okay,
quite
it's so unfair
honestly,
to make this guy argue for the expedition when
given
Sean
the
Rose
fact that
opened
we
it.
all know that it's not going to open for a couple of years, it's hard for people to put it together that we need to do it tonight.
Well, I guess
So
I would.
if you could just share the reason why.
No, absolutely. I mean, I guess I would fast forward to the point of opening. So let's say it's a difference between July versus November of a particular year. For the number of patients who show up between July and November, it'll be a big difference. And so that's where we really look at it. Understanding we have a bureaucratic process that we have to go through with the state. We're doing everything we can to expedite it in terms of our planning, in terms of.
Why is there a cop sitting on that side now?
Chair, I guess.
Oh,
what
true.
I'm
Well, there's
trying to
always
get
a
at is
there's always a cop
reason
off in the wings.
to
They have like a
expedite
detail
it
cop.
Yeah, yeah.
is
So
because
he's
on the
probably
other
just like,
end,
okay,
it
everyone's
does
gone. I'll just sit
mean
down
a
now.
difference between
Camera won't
3
notice.
months or 6 months.
Camera won't
So the
notice.
quicker that's expedited,
No, I'm looking.
even though it's a couple of years out, it'll shorten it by the 3 to 6 months.
Exactly.
Is
Yeah, exactly.
what I was looking for you to say. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion now is to recess.
Thank you for answering my leading question the way I wanted
Motion
you
is to
to.
recess to the ordinance committee. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor GA?
Sorry, could you clarify again what we're voting on?
Sure, we're going, we rarely do this. We've done it, the last time was 10 years ago. So,
To expedite it?
yeah, so we have to go into a special.
Magic,
it's almost
I was like,
going
I
to
motion
finance.
we abolish
So we have to
single
go
family
into another
zoning.
committee, which is the ordinance committee, but not the finance budget committee. And the one in that committee will pass it, if it passes, and bring it back out to the council.
And that expedites the process.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
It's very interesting.
Yes.
It's very
Councilor
interesting that this
Rivera?
happens once every 10 years. Like,
He has recused himself. Councilor Rose?
Yes.
just
Councilor
in the
Russell?
context of like, could an ordinance
Councilor Toomey?
committee
Yes.
do it?
And Mayor Petty?
Yes.
It wasn't just
The
some
motion to
weird
recommend is
add-on
to approve.
the city council that they
Roll
never used.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor GA?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera has recused himself.
Yeah,
Councilor Rose?
while
Yes.
we're in the
Councilor Russell?
ordinance committee, I
Councilor
move
Toomey?
that we abolish single family zoning.
Yes.
In
Mayor Petty?
all in favor? All opposed to
Motion
order?
is to
Okay.
reconvene back into the city council.
Reconvene or reconsider?
Want to reconsider it together?
Can we reconsider?
Yeah, we can reconsider.
Thank you.
Councilor Bergman?
No.
Councilor Calorio?
No.
Councilor GA?
No.
Councilor King?
No.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
I've been watching meetings
Nguyen?
No.
of
Councilor
local
Rivera has recused himself. Councilor Rose?
professionals
No.
for a
Councilor
long
Russell?
time
No.
in
Councilor
professional
Toomey?
capacity. It is
No.
Mayor
stunning
Petty?
No,
How,
the motion now is to reconvene
like,
back into the city
incompetent
council meeting.
and
Roll
like
call.
feckless and useless
Councilor
the
Bergman?
city
Yes.
council is.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
And they-
Councilor GA?
Yes.
so
Councilor King?
concerned
Yes.
with like
Councilor Moore Carlson?
weird little
Yes.
beefs,
Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
trying to use
Councilor Rose?
weird
Yes.
procedural
Councilor
like
Russell?
arguments to
Councilor
like
Toomey?
cash out on each other,
Yes.
and
And Mayor
it just
Petty?
reads like
I
so
would guess we
pathetic.
have to vote this one more time.
Like Candy
Mr.
Murray
Attorney, is
Carlson,
to
like
advertise.
mad at Christian
What's that?
King.
We're gonna have
so
to vote it.
try to do
Yeah.
something, a little dig at
The
it.
motion is to approve in the city council meeting.
Okay, advertise or to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I think the solicitor's on. Mr. Solicitor, is it advertise or approve?
He's in the hallway.
Oh, there he is. Hang on. Give me a second. We voted an ordinance, almost like the budget is voted an ordinance and come back and the council has to vote it too. It's like the budget.
This is Ed's second to last meeting.
Yeah.
Mr. Solicitor?
Yes, I was just walking back to my desk. Can you repeat the question?
Is this to approve to advertise or to approve the item itself?
It would be to advertise.
Okay.
So the motion is to advertise. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor GA?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera has recused himself. Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay.
Next meeting
Go
is going
back
to
to
be
the
really
regular meeting.
fucking hagiography. Oh no, the city council meeting is next week is canceled.
B.
There's just a finance committee
I
meeting.
want to recuse myself for this.
For the block grant? Okay. So this is transmitting information communication over the CDBG year 48 recommendations. We're going to send that to public health. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Next is transmitting information communication over the speed hump program. Traffic and parking.
Why was he so excited to say that?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the administration and Commissioner Fink for expanding this program. We had a hearing at one of our traffic and parking meetings, and it was overwhelmingly, people were positive about this program, and they were very excited for the expansion. And we do have a list of different streets that people have asked to have
think
the speed
anyone's
bumps on it.
been
So
excited about
I
this
know the
program.
district councils now will be putting together their list. I just have one quick question to the administration, which a lot of people are asking me now, is when will these speed humps go back on the roads? What is
Right. So Yanni,
What's the time frame?
Commissioner?
can you elaborate a little bit more on that? How Worcester's
Mr. Chairman, through you,
this
we've lined up the contractor to reinstall those
That was
that
a
were
little
installed last year, with the exception of Whitla Drive and the set on Coolidge Road, because those are the two areas that we heard opposition to it. My expectation is that we should be starting that installation process in probably 2 to 4 weeks. It just needs the contractor needs time to mobilize, and it should take us probably 2 to 3 weeks to have them installed.
Okay, through the chair, if we could just have a report out when we have all those streets identified. So as a at-large councilor, I know where all those speed humps are, and I would appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, through you, just for clarification, I just want to be clear. What we're looking at doing with the contractor now is reinstalling what was already there.
Okay.
Once it goes through the committee, this goes back to the committee, we get a new list, it's approved, then we're going to go ahead and then start the installation of those. That's going to take a little longer, only because there may be some delays in getting those materials.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Council Bergman.
How exactly are the speed
really
humps going to be superior to the
quick,
speed craters
I
that
don't know
exist
if
all
the
over the
commission
city
needs to
currently?
stay, but I just want to know,
I mean, we're doing a really
we're
good job
really early advocates of this.
neglect.
I'm
Of
very
traffic
excited
calming via neglect, yeah.
That we even have more counselors that are supportive of this. I think overwhelmingly there's been a lot of support for this. I will say this is somewhat unfair to our relatively new commissioner. When you look at the advantages versus the disadvantages, this was the same list that was given to us by the previous commissioner. And I would say 90% of it hasn't proven to be accurate. And if the average person looks at the agenda and sees this, it's, oh, there's 2 bullet points that say advantageous, and there's probably 10 or 11 that say not advantageous. For example, speed humps could impede snow removal operations. Well, we take them out during snowstorms. Speed humps are only, this is a negative. Speed bumps are only a partial substitute for occasional active enforcement by Worcester Police.
Oh, okay. I thought
Worcester Police
that
Department,
there was
and they'll tell you they're not partial
statewide organization
police substitutes, are often much more effective. Takes nothing away from the Worcester Police Department. So there's so many resources we can provide as far as police officers monitoring traffic control. Speed humps may negatively impact emergency vehicles, particularly ambulances. They're designed with the spacing on them for ambulances, fire apparatus, police cars to go over them without impeding. I only mention this because I
just point out for posterity
that
that
those of us on the council hear from constituents how supportive they are of this. And the average person looks at this, and again, through the chair to Commissioner Fink, he didn't write this up. I can tell you that I have a pretty good memory, and this looks pretty much exactly what the previous commissioner had put down before we adopted the program. And I can remember some pretty contentious traffic and parking meetings where there was some real pushback against this program getting installed. Now, I want to throw
it's like
a lot of
it might actually be the most
compliments
interesting thing that's happened this meeting.
And the city manager for being a strong advocate of this, and certainly
way
Commissioner Fink, I
that
think, is
city
an advocate of this
councilors
too. But it bothers me to see
holding
this
things
because I don't
recently to
think
be petty.
this. I know this has been
that was
disproven. I
extremely.
don't think this does us well when we're approving a budget, adding more speed humps, and the recommendations show the many more disadvantages than advantages, and we know the truth to be otherwise. So again, through the chair, I'm not asking Mr. Fink, Commissioner Fink, to respond. I just hope next year when we get when we're discussing the budget and we're advocating for even more speed humps, that this is adjusted a little bit to reflect the reality, not the politics of the speed humps. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly understand my colleagues' consternation, given that this is something we've advocated for quite some time. Just a quick comment as it relates to some of those comments or some of the points in the report. And that's simply that when we're talking, I think when folks imagine speed humps versus speed cushions, which is what I had pushed for quite a while ago, which is essentially the same thing, is that there are separations and allowances for emergency vehicles when it's separated. So, I think some folks have the standard, the old speed humps that were just one sort of mound, and then you have the ones that are separated. And the reason that that's important is that it does allow emergency vehicles, based on their axles, to traverse, the speed cushions while responding to emergencies. So, I think that overwhelmingly people have supported this. Traffic and Parking has pushed this. Colleague Councilor Bergman has pushed this. And I certainly think that we're moving in the right direction, and I don't want anyone to think that we're trying to get negative here. I just want folks to understand. This council
structurally
parking,
holding an item,
and folks have taken all considerations.
Something that someone
ultimately
can do if they have more questions, if they want more information from the city.
Rivera?
The way it's used in practice is,
I can't tell you, the minute
if
that,
you don't
I
like it,
think
you hold it.
district councils will tell
Like,
you that the minute
oh,
those
that you
speed
don't
bumps came
like
out,
So,
emails and calls, texts
it's
were
very,
flooded with like, how can I get
I'll
one?
probably
How
be
can I
writing
get
about
one?
that
And I'm
tonight.
we had to
It's a
deal with
very
the heartbreaking story that we had.
like,
to
needlessly
two locations.
sketchy and stupid.
So I'm really excited and really want to thank this administration and the commissioner for really, following through.
But it's
I'm really
ultimately
excited
more.
to see this increase. I will say, I agree with
which
my
is
colleague,
the
Councilor Bergman.
fucking end of any
It was
sense
a
of
little
that.
concerning to be able to kind of see, like, I think
But it
what
was
people kind of
ultimately-
see is this perception, and I can appreciate the transparency and being able to discuss, like, we do have to take a look at like pros and cons. I definitely get that. I think we can maybe just list our advantages a little bit more. I know that like other
and
districts, like I have really high
it was
pedestrian
cowardly
areas, especially when you think about like
to
our combination
ask
of
for it to
high
be hold
high
without
residential with
saying
school
why
areas.
you want to
I
hold
think
it.
about what
Because
happens
what
at
you
like
can do is
Woodland
wait
and
for them to come up and say,
before
I'd
the
like to.
car went into kind of the
And this
playground.
is
Thank
why
God there was no kids in that playground.
But
This
council,
is definitely such a needed issue.
just
It's life saving.
tell the mayor
to me.
before the meeting.
It definitely
Hold
is.
something the mayor just
And again, is really looking at
which
kind
is
of
a
like
problem.
environmental social justice, really looking at
It
kind of
often doesn't
our
even say who held
community
it. So
and our
we have this
environment,
like
and
behind the scenes
that
like
people feel like
series of
that,
like
that
little
they don't
power
have,
plays. People are
that
trying
they
to
do
flex on
walk,
each
that
other
they
by
feel safe, that they
rearranging
can
the
walk, that
agenda
people that
effectively.
are
And
strollers and mobility
ultimately,
devices.
it has no bearing on
Um,
reality. It doesn't matter.
There's a sense of like
Making them
safety,
more
and we
mad.
have so much. I'll tell you, I think I didn't get not one negative call or email. It was quite the opposite. They were like, oh my goodness, how can I get this? So I'm excited that you all, I know that you have heard us, you've been listening to us, and seeing this grow, and seeing this move forward is really exciting. And I'm excited to be able to say this as we go to neighborhood meetings, and would like to be able to kind of take a look at, just to support it better, like how can we make the list of advantages a little longer than our disadvantages. I can appreciate the
in her
transparency and the honesty.
constituents.
We do have to
doing
look at that,
on the
but
chat.
I think there's we could make that list a little longer, would be great.
Oh, I
even
think
just
that turf is a
in general, when we
fucking
look at maybe some
generous
speed and traffic on the street, I mean,
assumption
we
of
just
her
take a
politics
moment of silence, today.
to
And, when I go,
gender issues.
I
think she's
hear it, some of the residents that are elderly and on mobility devices or walk a little slower
No,
or in canes, they talk about it all the time, whether it's Murray Ave or in front of 1050, 1060. And I'm sure if you
yeah,
talk to
turf minus
each of the
the
district councils,
ERF.
they have these hotspots. I know
Yeah, or minus the
how
of
many
the
calls
RF.
has Merle Carlson gotten on Belmont Street? I know there's, like just that conversation on Stafford with Councilor Hajai. Like, we all have those areas that every time we go to those meetings, we know that's going to be the discussion. And it's life or death. Like, these speed bumps can make a difference between life and death. And I think regardless, that trumps anything else, I think, for me. So just thank you very much to this administration. Thank you to Commissioner, and I look forward to seeing this roll out and continue to expand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Carlson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Apparently my mic's dip out for a
I
second.
rise as well about the concerns that Council Bergman had, because.
Can you hear me?
the two
I can hear you.
streets
It's
that I
it's
have
warbling in a
the
weird way.
speed
The
humps
volume's
on,
going like up and
I
down a
can
little bit.
tell you, I went from calls every single
Is your air
day
conditioner still on?
to
It might
not
be
one
that
call
droning.
since
Okay.
we've installed these speed humps on
Let
two
me-
of the
I gotta
streets
close
in
that for a
my
second.
district. And the police will tell you it makes their lives a lot easier because they're not over there and we don't have to tell them a particular time when people are speeding. Like when UMass gets out and they're cutting through Uxbridge, they no longer have to go over there anymore because this speed hump is there. So I think in terms of staffing issues, it's a really big deal, but more importantly, it is a safety issue because there's no more people getting hit by cars on Uxbridge Street. There's no more dogs being hit on Uxbridge Street because of speeding cars. So I look
That's the only
forward
part of
to
this that makes a little bit of sense to me is the number of streets that people use as cut-throughs off of main arteries during commuting hours.
calls on. I think that it's a great program, and I know talking to the firefighters over there, they don't have an issue with the ones that's on Uxbridge or the one that's over there on Alexander. So I think it's a great program and just want to commend the city manager for finally listening to how important that we thought that this was. And again, the people in these areas are really grateful. And I know that there's many other families with the 6 additional ones who will be thanking you as well. Thank you. Run.
Okay, we're gonna send that to traffic. We're gonna send that to traffic and parking. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Okay, we are on 8.9A.
No, and that's a really good point. I mean, and it's been amazing to watch that flag closing, how it's changed traffic patterns around that entire neighborhood, even when the street is open.
Growth Award for the 23rd consecutive year. Congratulations, Mr. Fink, Mr. Commissioner, Robert Antonelli, and the whole team of the city of Worcester who made this a priority over the last, really since the last at least 20 years anyway. So great job. Thank you. We can file that. All those in favor, opposed? So
next, they can start working on Gary Rosen's rubber sidewalks.
Very briefly, congratulations to all. It's great. I just wondered if it's possible. I've had a number of people ask about the possibility of getting trees, and if we could put up on the website information about how to go about getting trees from the city again, especially with this coming up. It's a great way to announce that we had got this award and to enable people to access trees to better their neighborhoods would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so file that. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Transmit information communication update on Foley Stadium improvements. We can send that to veterans and parks. Madam Chair, maybe that you can also have Finance Committee of Education come in for that meeting. Okay, so send that there. Roll call. No, roll call. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Transmit information communication of the Urban Forestry Master Plan Initiative. Send that to parks. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Good, Bill's not here to hear that.
Of the Master Plan Initiative improvements to Blakewood Park. And we can send that to parks also. Those in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Hey, I'm in.
We held 8.11A.
Hopefully my mic's a little better now.
Okay, next one.
We'll see.
We'll send this to finance for discussion. With the
All right,
police.
awesome.
I think we asked for this is transmitting information.
I heard the tree
Courses at
stuff.
The Worcester Police Department.
Fucking
Send it to finance. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Recommend. We
Put me in, coach.
8.15A. I think we did hold that.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be the Lorax. They don't understand how useful I could be.
8.15A was held.
Oh, who
Seriously,
held-
Jack is killing it in the comments on
My
Facebook.
notes here, I did. So there was,
Oh, you did, okay.
there was an issue. There was an issue. I announced at the beginning of the meeting. There was an issue with our website where a lot of the backup information did not appear.
Yeah.
So in a matter of transparency, we're going to hold that for the next meeting so
Can
people
I
can
ask
read
for a
it.
report?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, this just to remind people, this is assessors item, but dealing, oh, excuse me, this is the rental registry. I'm on the wrong one. I'll wait. Excuse me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying on top of things, George.
I'm off tonight. Not a shop.
Now you threw me off. I'm seeing where we are here. Okay. Okay.
All in
rental
favor and
registry,
opposed are reordered.
And we are 8.27A, Transfer Information Communication Worcester 311 service, and send that to Urban Technology. And all those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Transfer Information Communication regarding the potential utilization of Near Map USA. We can take that. I'm sorry, Council.
Mr. Chairman, I thought of holding this myself, but instead of holding it, I was just going to make a recommendation to my colleagues. You know, this report that came out, this is the item about the assessor's office hiring the company. I think it's the assessor's office, but it's really the administration. And every city department will have access to these aerial flights that'll be done twice a year, where they're going to fly over every property and take pictures and then have this information accessible.
George Russell's
the
a nudist.
administration provided a report, I think it was pretty much.
He doesn't want people to see that.
He's only in favor of the police flying over everything and taking pictures.
And in addition to that, they had the list of the departments, and they're pretty much, you got to admit, they mostly are very similar, if not alike, that it's response planning, like we might use them for planning. And what I think we should have here, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not even, I really don't even have a problem with even moving it forward, but I think that we should have a policy, a written policy of who's going to use it, when they're going to use it, and who's going to document who used it.
Right, but not for the cops.
My feeling is that, you know, this information is going to be out there, and to have every city employee, including myself, to have access to it, to just punch in on a computer. I mean, it's very similar to the Google Maps and the Sky View and all that kind of stuff, but it's the reason why we're paying tens of thousands of dollars each year is because it's a lot more accurate and a lot more fine than Google Maps. If it was the same as Google Maps, all of us would turn on our computer, but it's not. So I just think that we should have some kind of a policy in place that sets parameters of when it's going to be used, and some kind of a documentation, maybe in the clerk's office or in the manager's office or wherever the administration sees fit, that there's some kind of a, you know, like a policy of why it's used and when it's used and who used it and what they used it for. That's my
Mr. Manager?
suggestion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we certainly could try to fine tune it a little bit. I just want to make sure nobody's left with the impression that there are any human beings in these photos. They're not. That there are any license plates in these photos. There are not. There's just a property, which if you drive down the street, you might be able to see the same thing. Or as you mentioned, the Google Maps, albeit a higher resolution, a better image, hopefully, for our purposes. But there's no
Such a boring
identifying
thing to make an issue of.
no people, no faces, no
just weird.
license
Yeah.
plates or anything that really gets to a person.
It's like he's going out of his way to be hypocritical.
Somebody driving down your street looking at the front of your house. So I just want to make sure folks don't think that somehow this is more intrusive or more information than a Google Maps, albeit a better resolution, or driving down the street.
I understand, Mr. Chairman, that that if there is a person, we were shown during the committee meeting that it would be blurred or it would be.
They're basically trying to,
But the
for the assessor's office, get a better
is that
Google
this is
Maps
pretty
with like a
defined,
service
but,
that'll fly some planes over
I
and
asked
take
the question
pictures.
during the committee
Yeah.
meeting
George
about
Russell is
county
weirdly
patio
obsessed with
blocks, and
this
I talked
for a
about it
reason
not
that really hasn't been made
sarcastic, but I
clear.
knew that patio blocks were an item that were taxable, but yet you didn't need a building permit for them. So, and the answer was pretty much, yeah, we can count patio blocks. We can measure the spaces. We can see what it was last time we flew over compared to what it is now. There's a lot of different information, what vehicles there are in the yard, what other structures there are, what the yard may be being used for, what the property, if it's cleared of trees, if it's not cleared of trees, there might be things growing there, you know, that might be visible. So, I mean, I have no idea what the various different departments are going to use this for. And based on this list, I think probably we really don't know what they'd be using it for. I would just like to see some kind of a policy in place, with a paper trail showing who's using it, why they're using it, and
I believe that might be
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
what Russell's going
you.
after here.
Council King.
The comment about the patio was pretty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
telling
happen
that.
to agree with my colleague. When I read this and read.
Right. That's got to be Matt. You're so right.
License
Like,
to
come on.
municipality allowing
the only
all
reason why you
employees
care about
access
this.
the tool. And then when we look at the potential uses, it's sort of a cut and paste for all departments, or perhaps just consistency across all departments. For the most part, emergency responses for police is one of the differences. Emergency responses for health and human services, another difference. I'm not sure what that means. With those two folks, it makes me think once again of the unhoused and drones.
That's a good argument.
When you look at it, it would be used for public gathering opportunities. And those sorts of things.
Like
give me
K2
pause
swimming pool that we
without
found
policy.
at the last meeting.
Oh yeah, right.
I
Why isn't she up
support
there
this
yelling and
at this
screaming?
time, with the lack of detail, and have some major concerns here. And as I mentioned previously, as relates to drones and things of that nature, and automation, I'm not sure how that will impact our employees here in the city, as all of this work is being done. But it's certainly a concern for me. And this is certainly I don't think this is a simple thing. Some folks might think it is, but for me, it's not. And I guess my question to the administration, how will we, measure its effectiveness outside of kind of charting where and how many places properties are assessed, and also how are we going to be measuring its use in all of these other departments that are listed through the chair.
Mr. Manager.
God, this William Shea guy is a real piece of work, huh?
Purchase of the program is really designed to support
You're a fucking
the assessing
asshole.
department, to make sure that we give our residents the most accurate assessment possible. That's what we owe them. We owe them an accurate assessment of the value of their property. And so this is a tool to allow our handful of assessors to do that in the tens of thousands of properties around the city, as we were talking about earlier, that are constantly changing. Decks are being added, patios are being added, pools are being added, things are happening that change the value, and we want to do right by our residents by giving them an accurate assessment. This is a tool that helps it. The other departments, it's just the ability, since we've purchased the program, to allow other departments to have access to it. And I'll give you one example. I was with the fire department down on Gage Street looking at the aftermath of the fire. They had me turn around and look at the back porches of all of the multifamily houses facing there. They're completely blocked. There's so much furniture, so much stuff on those porches, those wooden porches, that, maybe that's a potential use, to be able to see.
Hey, Matt, can you tell your new friend Chad Miller that the
fire
fine for
similar to
jaywalking in
Gage Street
Massachusetts
in
is currently $1, $2 for second and third offense. So if he's got an issue, he's talking to the wrong body, wants to bring that to the state house, not the council.
If there is a single fire here, we don't lose people there. That's just one potential use of us doing our job of protecting the residents, delivering the services that we're obliged to provide. So it really is a tool in.
Yeah, George Russell is
the
definitely just
assessor,
worried about
but
assessments
we
being
can make it available to
closer
other
to
departments the extent it makes them more effective
what's it like listing prices or whatever.
across the board.
I think that is something, though, that seriously, that George is really worried about, though, too. The ability to
the hypotheticals here.
Sell a
But again, we're
house
talking
and
about
not be able to tell confidently a buyer that, well, you can do whatever you want because the city of Worcester doesn't pay attention. Like, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, right.
Especially when it comes to taxable add-ons to the property.
Yeah, true.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think the vote is 17A that was recommended by the Urban Technologies Innovation and Environment for the past this. Council Russell's asked us to tighten up and come back with a policy, but go forward with this. And
My motion, Mr. Chairman, we send it back to the administration just to put a policy in writing.
send the whole thing back?
Oh, I don't know how you do it otherwise.
Well, you suggested before I go forward, then get the policy.
Well, if you go.
And then Matt,
forward,
you would only have permit records for things that permits were pulled on. And yeah, I mean,
If the assessors, if you want to pass it,
you,
just the assessors to use.
you can get away with a lot without a permit. We'll just leave it at that.
That's the will of the board, the council. I'm not trying to be, unreasonable here. I'm just trying to say that we're talking about these same kind of things on other items. We should be consistent. That things are only used for certain things. And, with all due respect to the administration, we can't see people, but we can see boxes. These are fine pictures. When you say you can see boxes on a porch that are blocking, these are very intense photos that are being available. So my motion would be to send it to the administration for to fine tune and come back next week or next.
Okay, Council Hajiya?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To be fair, this department was the only department that had a full disclosed policy, answered all of our questions. We had a thorough hearing, almost an hour and a half. I think that it would behoove us, because this is an urban planning, it's equitable and fair tax assessment. It's going to help our taxpayers to have the ability to also, through the chair, maybe Mr. McGurthy could confirm this, but have access to an assessment. So if a taxpayer disagrees with the abatement or the tax assessment, they can get access to this imagery. It's an imagery that doesn't even come close to what the negative impacts of a drone. Let's just make that clear. So we voted this in this committee. I have no problem whatsoever with providing clarity around how other departments might use it. That's great, that's transparency. But to be fair to the assessment department, they did provide us a policy the way that every other department should have. So I say that to say I support Council Russell's. I would prefer that we don't send it back to committee or the administration for the assessment department.
Okay. So there's a motion to recommit it. That takes precedent of the motion to adopt. So if people want to recommit it, they would vote yes. If they don't want to recommit it, they would vote no. They would take a motion to adopt. I think Council Hajiya, I had 2 meetings on this, I think, and we had 1. Okay. So the first one is to recommit. Roll call.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, Mr. Clerk. Just a point of clarity. So this came out of the
oh boy,
committee,
Urban,
right?
Come on.
So it's like a chairman's order from the chairman or coming out of the committee.
Yeah,
Yes.
Council Hajiya and the committee has recommended to go forward.
Thank you.
Council Bergman.
I'm just going to say that I have the utmost respect for my colleague, Council Russell, but I tend to be least or lesser concerned with drone technology than some of my colleagues, and I'm hearing some of my colleagues that I know have a lot more concern than I do over drone technology being supportive of this because their concerns have been allayed when they've heard the policy. So although I understand where Council Russell's coming from on this, I'll vote no, but I just wanted to explain why. I sense that it's been vetted, and those that are attuned to drone-related concerns.
So should we go over the concept of bike shedding again, Bill?
Yeah. I think we should.
My colleagues, when I say those folks, and I'll be supportive of it as well. Well, thank you.
Fuck, dude, this is just like.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. First of all,
Good Lord.
Oh my God, this is really hurting myself.
I still wanted more information. So I just want to be clear that we're 2 people in favor of it, and one that just voted present because I still wanted more information. And then the other thing is now if we're voting.
Didn't vote no, voted present. Classic George Russell move. But it's a no, but it's not a no. But trust me, I don't like it, but it's not a no.
Of it in general, so there won't be any policy at all for the other departments, correct?
Council, is there a policy? I thought Council Hajiya.
Okay, so what we voted in committee is the policy for the assessors department. The assessors department shouldn't be responsible for how the other departments in the city provide policy. It should be the responsibility of those departments to provide how they're using it when. So I understood Councilor Russell's motion to be, we would like to have the administration have a policy to list all the uses of other departments, tell us when, tell us
This is
how,
a lot of
that's
petty
why.
beefing, and Mo Bergman just
how I
blew it
understood
into fucking
Councilor
outer
Russell's
space with the
motion.
petty
Manager?
beefing. It was like,
Yeah.
it was unreal. Yeah.
What we
It's
will
like,
do if the
in a way
council
that
votes to approve
almost
it,
pains me
the
to
assessor's
explain.
office, we will not
So
use
just to be clear,
we will
the manager has
allow all
both hands
departments
visible right
access to
now,
this.
so he
Yeah.
might actually be
We'll use it
honest for the
the
first time in 8
department.
years.
Yeah,
Until
right,
which
right.
time we can come back with a policy. So hopefully that can move things forward.
Okay, do you want to withdraw your motion then?
That was what I was trying to get at, Mr. Chairman, in the first place. I mean,
Oh, boy.
we're going to miss the manager. He always has a way of eloquently putting things
Okay.
together.
So
I just want to be clear about that, because if we went forward and voted my item down, Councilor Jolly's item up, there wouldn't be any policy.
Okay,
for
so a
those other
motion is
departments.
to approve, roll call.
So, Mr. Chairman.
I read that.
to
That's
interrupt,
fantastic,
just for
right? Like,
clarification, there was an
how many $1
overview
fines do you have to
of,
issue to pay
urban
for
ties.
a
So
police
do you wanna
officer's time
amend that
in
or just take the
issuing those
assessor's
$1
office
fines?
and then take the vote?
300,000.
You wanna be
Another
specific?
The numbers are to be believed.
Their own policy is sent to the assessor's office.
Assessor's office only.
Okay? Okay, roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
No.
Councilor Merrill Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes, we can file that other item that was, oh, no, that was that. That was 8.29A, we can file, all those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Do you want it to go to committee?
Yeah, that's Chelsea's own artwork behind me. Check it out. Good artist.
I just want to be clear. So after that vote for the assessor's office, my motion would be for the administration to come up with a policy for all other departments.
That was part of the
Okay,
vote.
I thought you said each department. I thought you were looking for like the police department.
ones that are
have
gonna
their
use it.
policy and other people that have their
Yeah,
policy.
either one.
I want a blanket policy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification.
Yeah.
So just real quick. So this vote is to allow it to be used in other departments with a policy, correct?
Correct.
So I-
If
because I
they have
thought the
you have to
statement
come in with a
managed-
policy
okay.
similar to what the assessor's office has done.
Okay, because I thought the statement that was made by the administration is that it wouldn't be used in the other departments. That last vote was for the assessors department only.
Right, so the vote was for the assessors department only tonight, and based on policies from other departments who need it, and they do a policy, they can use it also.
So this vote would right now, it was voted in for the assessor's office. If we vote yes here in the affirmative, it's voting to open it up to other departments.
If they have a policy, yes, that was the vote.
Thank you.
So, yep. Okay, so we can file this item. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Okay, let's see.
Was that a vote?
No, we already voted it.
But we didn't vote.
I really have to give Jack and Yenny a lot of
I did.
credit. I mean,
This is like great. So I didn't even know how we got to jaywalking, but it's amazing.
they're going toe to toe with the A team from Breens right now, and it's absolutely astounding.
That's fucking sick.
Okay, I
Similar
voted
to
no on
this,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so I voted no on both.
I probably
one.
spoke
Okay,
too fast.
thank you.
Okay. Next, transfer information communication about the fiscal 2022 financial update as of April 30th, 2022. Send that to MLO. All set.
That's
Those in favor,
fucking-
opposed, so
yeah,
ordered.
oh,
Transfer information
that's-
communication
wow.
of the DCU District Improvement Fund notification. We can file that. All set. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. 8.36A, 8.37A through E, 8.3A through G, adopt on the roll call.
These fucking
Roll
people,
call.
man.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes. Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell? Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes. 8.40, the motion is to advertise the loan order. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Carlson.
It's just a nice, pleasant reminder that
Councilor
most
Rivera.
people are
Councilor Rose,
fucking
yes.
awful.
Councilor Russell.
You know?
Yes.
Well, look, you know, and
Yes.
Mayor Petty.
if nobody else did, I mean, I
Okay.
clicked on that
Treasury
guy's
information,
profile
this is A,
picture, and it
treasury
brought me to a
information
bunch of
communication
pictures of a guy wearing a
update
City
on
of
the
Worcester
American
DPW
Rescue
switcher.
Act.
So I'm going to guess you may have
Called by this city
tickled the
council.
nerve a bit by suggesting that maybe
Consider
somebody
that
should be painting their
municipal
crosswalk
operations,
lines on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah.
Maybe light them
Okay,
while you're
those
at
in
it.
favor, opposed, so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Okay, Tourism Information Communication Revenue Amendment to the city's ARPA budget. I can send that to MO. And thank you for that, too, Mr. Manager. Schools will thank you. Finance, Tourism Information Communication relative to the Department Development Plans for Cable Services, City Clerk Elections, and the Police Department. That goes to Finance. That came out of Finance. We'll put that into Finance for the budget. And Chairman's orders 9A to 9T. Motion is to adopt. I'm sorry, A and B we held. So there would be C through T, motions to adopt. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Yeah, if we told City Hall that lighting up crosswalks would keep homeless people from using them, they would be all over that in a second.
First one is, we held some of these, right? 10C and E are held. 10C and 10E. Okay. 10A, request manager assess and implement the means/methods of the public communication to promote Worcester's 300th anniversary events. Council Bergman and Merrill Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the last few weeks,
I care not
a
a
number of
fucking
neighborhood
wink
crime watch or / neighborhood meetings
about
discussion
Worcester's
came
300
up
celebration.
regarding the city's
Yeah, it's gonna be the
300th
wackest shit
anniversary.
in
I
the
think
fucking world.
from what I've
You guys want to
seen
see the
myself,
piece of drywall that's been having my front door open in my apartment?
getting the message out on social media networks. But part of the challenge with communities or demographics that are not necessarily attuned to social media, and I'll put myself in
This shit kicks ass.
We do Facebook, we do Twitter, and other things. I think a lot of that it's generational. I think a lot of folks aren't learning as much
Just
as
a
they like them to about the upcoming
piece of drywall.
that are
Keeping
gonna
the front
happen
door
in
open
celebration of the city's 300th anniversary.
to the
It
whole
seems to me
building.
at a very basic minimum.
It's been like
if we
that
could
for
get something out to the various heads of the crime watch or neighborhood groups
about
by
4
way
days
of,
now.
print
Whatever.
out, so they could distribute to their membership. And we do have a list of who runs those meetings. That would be a way, at least a minimal way, to get some of the folks in those demographics, and I include myself in that, some more information. I think that's appropriate. Once it's over, it's over. We don't want people to miss that opportunity to celebrate with the rest of us the city's 300th anniversary.
No, you don't want to miss Brian
Again,
McKnight.
I think there's a generational,
No,
perhaps,
that's some real talent.
disconnect with not using social
This
media
is
to get their
again,
sources
like,
of information. So that's the suggestion.
this group
I
of
know
people is putting
Councilor
together the
Carlson
most
was at a number of
boring
those meetings,
series of
perhaps more
events
than
imaginable.
I was at.
And they genuinely seem shocked
just,
that people aren't
heard
excited about
comments
it.
if she's going to speak on it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, this is like, oh,
To
they
me,
can.
that's the tragedy, right? Like it's
They're like, oh, why wouldn't anybody be
Councilmember
excited
Carlson?
about this?
Yeah, just want to follow up and say that there has been several meetings that
Oh, Kate Toomey's
myself,
going wild.
as well as a few of my colleagues have attended.
She has not scheduled another public safety
A lot of people
meeting on the phone.
were really
Very interesting.
caught off guard about this. They had no knowledge about this taking place. And again, it's it's certainly for some of the folks, it's a technology gap. And how is it that we really reach some of these folks? I think you'll see.
For a moment there, Augustus had like young people that cared and tried to do cool things with City Hall. Like they might have been a little bit corny, but not of the level of booking Brian McKnight. But they
it was
were all,
Worcester corny.
yeah, but they were all slowly disincentivized from participating in City Hall.
Yep.
And now, now we're just booking the most boring thing possible.
And none of the leaders from the neighborhood groups had any info on that.
The thing that I was surprised with too, that it's a
with you know,
It's a dry
a
event.
couple of the larger.
And like, I'm not going to suggest that like everybody
So
needs to be
that
shit
was
faced to have a
really
good time.
the,
But that's
you
one of the
know,
things that
the
has always bugged me
reason
about
for
Worcester is
this
that if you
audit
can't
was how
simultaneously
do
bill
we
something in
really
Worcester
get
as a
some of these
family event and have alcohol.
Yeah,
but
right.
if you've ever been to like a brewery, lots of fucking families around, right? Like that's basically daycare for people who are under 30 now. That's
it's a really outmoded way of thinking about things.
See the posters in the elevators, so we're trying to put those up across city buildings.
It's
We
like,
can make them available
it's
to
just, I don't even know why they're
council, to
bothering
neighborhood
doing it.
groups, to your local businesses.
You
and your
just put out a
districts,
press release or
you know,
something.
any place where you know there's going to be a lot of foot traffic to get the folks who are not going to maybe get the
I
electronic.
mean, when we used to do first night, like that was my problem with that, right? Like first night as a thing is a dry event. It's New Year's Eve, right? Like,
yeah, come on.
You're going to lose that war. Like, as someone who doesn't want to leave their house on New Year's Eve, like you're still going to lose that war.
All sorts of different youth-based.
I don't know what they think is going to happen.
Completely free of charge on the.
And they all get shit faced like every fucking day. So Joe Petty gets drunk every night. What are you talking about?
The DCU free concert with the Pops as part of the celebration, a fireworks spectacular, a road race, a parade. So we have really tried.
What's the road race? That's kind of weird.
That it would be as inclusive as possible. There are literally ways for everybody to participate. Whether it be
The only events that I've seen programmed for the stadium this year that are not baseball have been 5Ks.
We desperately want to get
I'm sure they've
so that everybody
shoehorned one for the Turf Centennial.
So they do 5Ks out of the Polar Park. You just run around it, or
I don't know if they're inside a row, but they've got a whole slate of 5Ks going on this summer.
That's thrilling.
We were promised concerts. We
were promised concerts. That is thrilling. 5K. Wow.
Yeah. Send it to manager file and council review.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I can appreciate this. I know that there's been effort to try to really get the word out. I don't know if it's just because of like things kind of just turning to open up. There's still so many issues out there, other news or whatever it is. But I find the same thing, like oddly enough, I've seen people completely oblivious. It's interesting that this actually came up when I was coming up in the elevator today. There was a couple and saw the flyer and they were like, "Oh, this is really cool. This is happening."
No one said that's right. Come on. Come on. Nope, that didn't happen. Come on. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. You're lying.
Kate's nodding because she too has an imaginary friend in the elevator who.
That reminds me of what my husband said to get me to stop talking about it.
It's not really out there. Like there are people that have no idea that this is happening. And I think it's, from my experience, if 9 out of 10 that I encounter.
Yo, ZZ Top could play Polar Park.
Would be
I'm
like,
saying.
"Oh, that's happening."
That would be fucking
I'm not really
awesome.
sure why that is. So if we can be helpful in any way, we're happy to do that. And then if you kind of like add on language barriers or cultural, and I know that they have made efforts, and we do have cultural groups that are participating.
Yeah.
They've even done like mini
The
grant
drummer, I believe.
funds to kind of make
No,
sure
the
that
bassist,
people
sorry, the
can
bassist,
afford to.
They can still pull it off
Been
though.
great. Like,
Not that big of a venue.
Equitable, they really have provided for groups.
We
that
can
say
find
they
9,000 people who will still buy tickets without knowing that one important detail.
or a specific activity.
Oh, big time.
So I know that the effort is there. I'm just trying to figure out why the effort is there, but there hasn't.
Weird Al Yankovic is coming to Indian Ranch this summer.
If we can be
That might actually give me a reason to go to Webster in August.
Yo, you know, I heard he doesn't do his funny songs though. He plays like original music, like not like he plays like serious music when he plays live though. So I don't know.
all of our
Just all ZZ Top tracks.
Kind of say, okay, yeah, I'm in the room.
Just ZZ Top, 100%.
How can we be helpful? And please let us know, because I've been kind of perplexed about that as well. Thank you.
We'll send that to the manager. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Request that the manager consider creating policy that requires owners of rental properties to maintain insurance on the properties and to provide the city proof of the same. Council Bergman, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Don't forget to close your drywall behind you, Bill.
Yeah, I know. I have to close my new drywall door.
All of us are aware of the fact that the gates.
It's whatever, dude. I don't know.
One component to it, of course, the tragedy is the most important component to it.
Not my drywall, not my problem. That's what I say.
That was there was no insurance on the property, and I think a lot of people assume that everybody's got insurance, but the truth is that if you don't have a mortgage, you don't have to have insurance. Unlike driving a car in Massachusetts, you're required by law to have insurance. And I think it's for the same reason that people who own rental property should be required to have insurance. And let's be clear about it. I am confident that 99% of people that own rental property have insurance, but there is probably a percentage that don't. And they're playing a real dangerous game of roulette because beyond the tragedy, there's no money there to support the family that's left behind because there's no insurance. And good luck collecting on the person because they've probably figured out how to be judgment proof. There's also no relocation monies which are available when somebody has insurance, so they can have the tenants relocate somewhere at the landlord's expense because they have insurance and the people don't have to remain homeless. There's also no money to rebuild the property, and if you had insurance, you'd be rebuilding it to code because most insurance policies not only allow you to rebuild it once you make a claim, but they require you to build it to code, and we'd have better properties if the properties were rebuilt instead of having a property with no insurance, probably lay idle, be subject to people stumbling upon it and moving in when they shouldn't, and so on and so forth. So I'm not saying, and we've certainly had discussions recently, and we have more coming up about, things that are going to be imposed on landlords. But I do think that the overwhelming amount of landlords would support this because they're paying for insurance and they're probably scratching their heads. How are some of these people getting away with not paying for it? It's not fair. And I'd also say that there are ways to do this that are creative. We could have a policy where if you don't provide proof of insurance, you can't get a building permit, or you can't file for an abatement, things like that. And I think we do that in other circumstances with property owners when they owe money. We don't allow them to come to the zoning board or the planning board until their tax bills are paid up. They can't file for an abatement if they're not current on their taxes. So I think there's a way to do this, in a respectful way to all sides. But at the end of the day, if somebody's
The Morax.
And they, family member died in that fire, they've got no resources, and resources don't replace life. I get it, but there's still a family left behind.
Mo's going to get a call late tonight from the Landlords Association.
What the fuck, dude?
Ensuring that he corrects his statements to, you should be pushing renter's insurance, not
yeah, right. The fuck, dude?
Look into that, and again, I think this is not going to be something opposed by really anybody because I think everybody realizes it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Carlson.
Just quickly, Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Bergman spoke about all the reasons why we should look at this, and I think that this is something that we certainly should look at. We had a 6-family that landlord turned into 20 units, and all
what?
Tragically lost their life.
Wait, is that real?
Jumped out the window, who certainly, that is pretty tragic.
They've been pretty tight with a lot of the investigative stuff.
That's news, I believe, that there were 20 units in there.
I know there are 21 residents, but I didn't realize there were that many units.
Yeah, if that's true, that's news.
I think that, this individual with no insurance, no relocation for these individuals, and they lost everything. They have literally nothing. I think it's really unfair of the landlord to own, and especially somebody like this.
And Candy would have been told things, like under the assumption that she was going to not share them, that are part of the investigation. And then I think she just shared that from the council floor. I just did a big sweep of all the news coverage for my last post and read every story there is on the fire, but no one has said that there were 20 units in that building. And that's fucking wild. How do you turn a 6-family into 20 units?
In the law department looks at this. Thank you.
We'll send that to the manager. All those in favor, opposed, so ordered.
Chairman, I wanted to sign on.
You want to sign on? Okay, Council King will sign on. Other people, everybody? Okay. As amended, we'll send that to the manager. Okay. Request city manager provide alternative methods for city residents to respond to the Worcester Now Next survey. Such message should include mail-in and call-in options. Further request the manager create a robust market campaign to ensure residents are aware of this survey, including advertising within the Worcester Public Schools, senior centers, and neighborhood groups. To me, Merrill Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the very same reasons that Councilor Merrill Coulson was talking about, the folks that didn't know about the 300th anniversary events, as I was looking and doing the survey online, and I was talking to people about it, people had no clue. I don't use the internet, people said. I don't go on Facebook, people said. I don't use my cell phone for anything, and I don't have a computer at home. We are eliminating so many people and their opportunity to have their say in what happens now and next in Worcester by only using electronic means to be able to get the information and what people want. And so, rather than just say, fix it, we could possibly include mail-in and call-in options and create a robust marketing campaign to ensure that residents are aware of the survey, including advertising within the Worcester Public Schools, the senior centers, neighborhood groups, and making sure, as Councilor Rivera said, making sure that we're linguistically inclusive in terms of the cultural communities that are in our city as well. So I think it's really important that we try to reach out over the next, this is going to go on for the next year. We're going to be gathering data through you, Mr. Chair, to the manager.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, the survey is weird. It's kind of a trip. It's kind of a trip, but it's not useful. I didn't do it being like
programming. There was a table there with staffed by people actually soliciting people, parents and others, to participate in it. So we are not just using electronic media to get the word out. We are physically going to events, etc. There is a whole campaign which will give you an update, and obviously it could be maybe improved.
It's also run by a Boston developer.
I mean, like, always want to do better, but I don't want to leave the impression
I don't know what we're doing with this.
Only doing it through electronic means.
And I stand corrected, and I thank you for that.
I'm glad I wasted everybody's time.
Don't go to those events either. So that's why I'm saying,
No, it's a totally terrible survey. It's the sort of thing is like, what's your favorite color and why is it green? It's the kind of polling questions that you would only ask if you had the answer that you were going to come out with to begin with.
Some people just go to work and they come home and don't really. It's not like
this could have been an email, Kate.
Major newspaper anymore that gives this information. A lot of people don't even take that anymore because of the cost of it. So, I think what we need to do is really get outside of our zone and remember that not everybody comes to events, and we've got a lot of homeowners and renters out there that don't know about this stuff. And so that's all I'm asking, is that we just look at opportunities. Thank you.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we can't be doing that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you to the manager, is
Give me a telegram.
This something that you could also provide to Claire, that we could pass out to some of the folks that we're interacting with, so that they could have the opportunity. And
why can't you just do that?
Find a way to pick some of these up.
Put together a list of links
definitely
and email it to the people who ask you.
For whatever reason, and the city does, I always ask this question every day to myself, is what is it with all of the information that we're given on a daily basis? How is there just this big gap with some folks? So we have to figure it out. And sometimes we have to go back to paper.
Paper.
Council Bergman.
Mr. Chairman, on this item, and I'd certainly like to sign on, it's an excellent item.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to ask you, what am I doing with my life? How did I get here? Why am I like this? What are we even doing?
People on a regular basis sitting in the stands at Polar Park, and not everybody's from Worcester, but a lot of them are. And there are, you know, advertisements, so to speak, on that billboard that say, welcome, UMass Medical to the game or whatever. I'm wondering if the Woo Sox would allow us, since these are significant city-related activities, to have some time on that billboard. Because we definitely have a captive audience. They're definitely going to be.
Well, Maine South Mom, we don't want,
maybe not
yeah,
everybody's
we don't really want people responding to it.
That's a pretty good way of capturing people, and probably they would
Just
be
like my
accommodated
friends
for cost. I
who
just throw that out
own
there because I was
homes.
sitting here thinking of where are people going these days where they see billboards, and it seems to me that might be an opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, so send that to manager as amended, and those in favor, opposed, so ordered. Okay. Held, done. We are on 13A. Motion is adopt on a roll call.
This is the search committee.
Regarding the RFP regarding the search for the premier search firm and the executive search for the city manager. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Gia?
Oh, interesting. No argument on this.
King?
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
No.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Russell does not want to look for a new
13A, motion
manager.
to advertise proposed ordinance on a roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Gia?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're getting towards the end here. I don't think there's very many
Councilor Nguyen? Councilor Rivera?
held
Councilor Rose?
from
Yes.
last week
Russell?
items
Yes.
here.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. 14B, motions to accept. All those in favor, opposed, so
And I believe we're going to an executive session after to do the
Meeting on
Batista
municipal
thing.
operations. 15A is advertise proposed ordinance and adopt on a roll call.
Do they have to because they finalized the negotiations? Or does he just have to sign?
It says on the agenda go into executive session, so. Oh my God, it's stripper cake. But it's just Eric Batista who comes out of it.
Issue, Mr. Chairman.
You're serious, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
We're in the middle of a roll call. We'll go back in a minute.
Yeah, I
To the
apologize.
service.
Yep.
So let's
We're
just
going
finish
kind of
off
quickly. I missed that. Sorry.
15A, adopt on a roll call, and we'll go back to that one.
So, Mr. Chairman, it's a clarification. You're taking a roll call to adopt 15A and advertise the ordinance as well?
Yep.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Gia? Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes, here he is. Good job. Okay.
Sure, who is?
Chairman.
Before we go, I just want to, okay, I want to thank the MO committee, and I thought you guys did a good job on everything. on this, and good job on negotiations, and job well done. Thank you.
Yeah,
That was made up of Council King, Council Rose, and Council Russell.
Quick comment.
What's that?
Just want to make a quick comment. Just a thank you to the clerk's office, the solicitor, along with my colleagues for the work that was done during and post committee. In our packet tonight, we had a number of drafts of advertisements for a search committee that was put together by our city clerk, along with Chris Gagliastro of purchasing. Just wanted to thank those folks for being active.
Oh yeah, it was definitely like, oh, Batista's here. Yeah.
So Council Bergman, which one do you want to revisit?
Mr. Chairman, I believe it was 14A.
14A.
13A, I mean 10A?
14A and B.
Hang on. So we have, okay, so you want to reconsider these, 14A and B?
I do because.
Okay, we'll take a motion to reconsider.
Thank you.
That's sick. He's so done with it.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio? Councilor Gia?
Sorry, could you repeat why we're considering this?
Council Bergman announced.
Yes. Sorry.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merle Carlson,
Aren't you supposed to vote no on a reconsideration?
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes.
Oh, never mind.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank my colleagues for allowing me to make up for things moving quickly, me not catching this. But I did, through the chair, have a question to our commissioner and then a motion likely as a result of what I anticipate his answer to be. So if I may.
Why?
Through the chair to the commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. When this was in Public Works, a subcommittee, there was some discussion by my colleagues, Councilor Russell and Councilor Merrill Carlson and myself.
Yeah,
regarding
Petty just
the
wants
out-of-town sewer
Batista
water
to be the
rates,
manager.
excuse me. And although we increased ours slightly, there was no increase to the to those in the surrounding towns. And first of all, through the chair, was that an accurate?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, that is an accurate statement.
And I think the discussion, if I may, Mr. Chairman, was that it was such a small increase that it wouldn't really make much of a dent in our overall budget. But I do think that the commissioner, through the chair, may not be opposed to that. And even though it's a small increase to the surrounding town, it may also offset some of the taxpayers' liabilities. So I would throw that out there as a motion that we increase the surrounding towns the same amount we increase ourselves, so everybody will have some parity. Now, if there are other issues that relate to that I'm unaware of, I certainly would welcome comments from my colleagues.
Mo Bergman sticking it to home.
Looking at us discussing the budget, and there's an opportunity
about time.
to spread the pain, so to speak, outside of the city, and even if it's a very small way, and benefit Worcester residents, at the same time not treating the out-of-town residents any differently. I think it's a fair thing to do. So my motion on 14A and 14B would be that we'd increase the surrounding towns the same amount we increase ourselves. And then we'll see where we go with that motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Commissioner?
Bill, I don't know if you see that, but in the Facebook comments, Rick Cipro saying June 1st is the public safety meeting.
Correct in the discussion that we
Oh,
had at the
interesting.
Public Works Committee.
Very interesting that he
There's
knows
oversight
that.
in the preparation of the rates that did not increase that.
Well, Kate wanted to make sure that his calendar was free.
Certainly, we
Right,
should have
exactly,
the lens of
yeah.
equity. So there is no opposition for making it equitable and charging that same petty increase rate to the out-of-town users.
Okay, perfect. So motion is to approve as amended. And also, next time, motion is to accept 14B2. The clerk, we're going to roll call.
So, Mr. Chairman, advertise 14A and then everything else. Councilor Bergman,
As amended.
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor
Well, yeah,
King,
Kate definitely
King,
had to run it by her buddies in the police department before she
Yeah.
scheduled it.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
I hope they go above and beyond giving all of the
Yes.
bootlickers
Mayor
a
Petty.
script. And it ends up being
Yeah.
the most transparent thing in the world where they're just reading off the exact same
Roll
script.
call. Roll call.
Yeah.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor GA,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merle Carlson, Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell, Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes. We did 17A. I think that brings us to the end of the meeting, Mr. Clerk. Motions to adjourn. Those in favor? Opposed? So ordered.
We did it.
They didn't go into executive session. Wait, what? Well, I guess they didn't have to. Whatever.
Everyone's happy. Whatever. We're good.
Yeah, it's a done deal anyway. That was, it was a little weird, but yeah. So I guess we're just going to assume that Eric Batista signs the contract. And I'm sure we'll get a press release about it. And if we don't, then we can start getting a little worried that we'll just have no city manager come June 1st.
Do we really need one though?
I would love to see how it works out without one. I think.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would
That'd
change.
That'd be a fun exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty. All the things that I think might have been a little bit more controversial on this were pushed back a week. And it's very, very interesting. Like I remember talking about it before the meeting. Like I was like, I think Donna Calorio is the one who would possibly do something sketchy about this trans rights resolution.
Right.
And lo and behold, She fucking did. I mean, like the thing that actually happened was the inclusionary zoning going through, and
Right.
that's fine. And that's good. It's better than what we're doing now. And it was really funny to see all of the people that just want to be mad at like mildly progressive idea, but can't argue against it. Just like just be like nebulously mad, but also don't vote against it. Well, yeah, no, right. So it got through to committee, the zoning. It's going to committee, and it's going to come back, as they say, for a different vote.
So we have plenty of time to, or plenty of opportunity to hear fabric of our neighborhood type conversations.
Oh, yeah,
in the near future.
Yeah, and how we have to, we can't have so much affordable housing concentrated in these neighborhoods that I happen to live in myself. We need to spread it around the city to other neighborhoods that I have less of a stake in.
Yes.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch. And I mean, other than that, just fucking fascists in the comment section, baby. Like fucking wildly fucking transphobic, racist people in the comment section who seem to be part of some sort of death cult, and we salute everyone that was attacking them. That was funny. That was good. Yeah, that guy William Shea is a real fucking piece of work.
We have our share.
Yeah, we do.
And no raffle, no sane person would ever fight one of the Diaz brothers. That's ridiculous. I mean, maybe everyone has a price, but yeah, no.
So apparently the police drones is the next thing on that's going to be June 1st, is what we just recently learned. What we're waiting for is a subcommittee meeting on centered around a more substantial policy as it pertains to civil liberties. And that's sort of where we're at. With that, Rick Cipro seemed to be the first person to know that a June 1st meeting was scheduled. And just for posterity's sake, I'm going to see if it's even on the municipal calendar yet, because that would be funny.
I kind of hope it's not. That'd make it that much better.
It would make it that much better, yeah. Like Kate Toomey tells Rick Cipro before she even files it with the city. That's just great.
There is a June 1st meeting there. Yeah.
Oh, there is one?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So yeah, so that's when the drone thing gets picked back up. And it was pretty funny actually to hear all of them complaining about how no one wants to go to their boring show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fucking local band being like, why doesn't anyone come to our show? Yeah.
Interesting though, they I'm scanning through that public safety meeting, and they do have an item in there that is going to go over the facial recognition ordinance in regards to the drone. So
there is. Okay.
Somebody must have gotten needled enough on that where they
interesting. All right.
Want to revisit that conversation.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at that. Maybe that is a meeting we could stream. That would certainly be fun.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, I would plan on going down for it. But yeah, I think we probably should plan on streaming that one.
Yeah. What's going on Thursday? What's that for? The school committee?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. But yeah, that was just another fucking miserable ass city council meeting. Where nothing good happened, and we saw people try to take petty beefs out on each other. And that's just fucking Worcester, baby. We love it.
I really kind of hope we keep this up, because it's historically, you get those petty beefs through the election season, and then they just get back to normal once everyone's in their seats.
Right. But now they're just personal.
Exactly. And
it's too far out for there to be election stuff at stake here. It's just,
and it will it'll only lead to disaster if they just keep factioning off as we go into another election cycle.
And you know what? I'm here for that.
100%.
I want it to be fucking ruthless.
Totally. I mean, Jack mentioned it earlier, but I think he's spot on that you throw in a handful of progressive candidates that aren't really trying to put together a slate, but are just there and talking some sense. the potential for whittling away the Toomey, Moe, and Colorio votes is significant.
Yeah, it'd be great for people to realize that there's something just better out there. You don't have to vote for somebody because you know them. You know?
Well, I mean, this whole Next Now survey, I think, is a good example of that too. Like, and I don't want to suggest that the city of Worcester shouldn't be focused on the future. Of course, they should, but focus on the things that are within your control. Like, we should be spending a lot more time having big conversations around infrastructure and whatnot that is just kind of wasting in the city.
Yeah.
The conversation we had earlier about the Tercentennial and how it's kind of nonsense. That's what ends up coming as a result of that survey is you give these folks some bright ideas. By the time they come to executing them, that ship will have sailed and we'll still have crumbling streets, sidewalks, and nothing will make sense from a pedestrian safety perspective.
But we've all been very busy planning for this party that no one's going to go to.
Yeah. Well, I hope they enjoy it. It'll be fun. I bet. Or something.
I think that's a good enough place to end it. This has been another rousing edition of Worcester Council Theater 3000, sponsored by Craft Tea Kombucha, the only ethical consumption under capitalism. I'm realizing now that I have never done the sign off before and I don't know how to. So thank you everyone for tuning in and have a good night.
Fantastic job. See you later.